Hey guys, and welcome to another Professor Oak challenge. This time we take a look at yet another special Pokemon game. No, it's not a mainline game, nor is it a ROM hack. This time it's a fan game, Pokemon Fire Ash, made entirely for Pokemon Essentials. Fire Ash follows loosely the events of, well, Ash from the anime. You are not restricted to Kanto or Johto, but it does include all generations up to Alola, with the game constantly being updated even further. The big difference is that in Pokemon Essentials, since it's computer based, it doesn't have the same limits as the conventional hacks for the consoles. So after my Silver Professor Oak challenge, I wanted to step the game up even further, and I asked myself, what if Ash actually was competent? That's what my Professor Oak challenge in Fire Ash is all about. With over 800 Pokemon to catch, let's get started. But first, as usual, what is the Professor Oak challenge? For those of you who are new to this, the Professor Oak challenge means basically catching and evolving the most amount of Pokemon, with the least amount of badges. So, before the first gym, we need to catch and evolve all Pokemon that crosses our way, to fill the pokedex to the maximum amount possible at this stage. Only one game is allowed, and glitches, cheats shall not be exploited. We start our journey as you would expect in Pallet Town. After waking up too late to get one of the conventional starters, Professor Oak gives us Pikachu, which will now follow us wherever we go. Together with Pikachu, we get our first 5 Pokeballs and a brand new Pokedex. Saying goodbye to our mom, we make our way to Route 1 to catch our first Pokemon, Rattata. While I was looking for more Pokemon to catch, I made sure to get every item that I find on my way. Section 1 usually is the hardest with many Professor Oak challenges, when it comes to grinding and money, so I made sure that every Pokeball count that I used. And even more so to collect every item. After buying a few more Pokeballs, I returned back to Route 1, where I caught a Pidgey. Returning to Viridian City to heal my Pokemon, I ran into Team Rocket for the first time. The same as Ash does in the anime. After kicking their butts and robbing them of their money, I mean, who's the real baddie here? I returned back to the route to fill my Pokedex even more. Here I caught Spearow, Sandshrew, Poliwag and Mankey. Lots of Pokemon to catch. I wanted to test out how far I can reach without a single badge, so I made my way to Viridian Forest. This is where I found one of the first iconic Pokemon. Those are basically the Pokemon Ash would have gotten on his journey nevertheless, and I gladly let them join my team as well. So Caterpie joined me and I made my way through the forest. I caught a Weedle and a Pidgeotto joined my team as well. After kicking the butt of a certain samurai you may know from the anime with his Pinsir, by the way, most epic fight of the anime, I used my time in Viridian Forest to add Kakuna, Beedrill and Fearow to my team, having now a total of 13 Pokemon. As you could expect, in Pewter City we couldn't advance further until we had beaten Brock. So now we have to grind to evolve our Pokemon. But before doing so, there's yet another Pokemon which we can catch for our journey. A Pokemon many of us remember from Ash's first steps into Kanto. Ho-Oh is surprisingly also available at Route 1, as a very rare 1% encounter. It is at level 50, and I have no real way of bringing down its health, since it one-shots any of my Pokemon, so throwing Pokeballs and hoping it stays is the way to go. I got incredibly lucky, and Ho-Oh stayed the very first time I encountered it, after only 6 Pokeballs. So Ash has a Ho-Oh now. That, Gary. As you can imagine, Ho-Oh is complete overkill for all of Kanto, and it will be an integral part of our team from now on. I mean, who wouldn't flex with a Ho-Oh as a trainer? Makes me think, how would the story have differed if Ho-Oh would have joined Ash from the start? Well, I mean, it's Ash after all, so my hopes are not that high. Anyways, we have now caught any Pokemon available at this section. Now we have to evolve any Pokemon we have. As you can imagine, our biggest pain in the ass was Pidgeotto, which evolves at level 36. Here's the problem now. This fan game may look like Gen 3, but its main mechanics are borrowed from Gen 5. This means scaled leveling. Yeah. This means that my Pokemon gain less and less experience with each level they gain, which didn't make things any easier. My main training spot was ironically Route 1, since Ho-Oh could still appear and spawn with a 1% encounter rate. So, using my own Ho-Oh and cross-switching, I managed to evolve my Rattata into Eradicate only after about one Ho-Oh defeated. It still sounds weird, but yes. That is our main training spot from now on. Poliwag I evolved into a Poliwhirl, Pidgeotto into a Pidgeot at level 36 after around 6 hours. And I can tell you, those 6 hours didn't come from fighting Ho-Oh directly, but from finding it in the first place. Since we are restricted on our money, buying repels is not really an option, so yeah, finding a 1% encounter spot is pretty tough. I evolved Sandshrew into a Sandslash, Caterpie into a Metapod and into a Butterfree after around 20 minutes. And finally my Mankey into a Primeape at level 28. Ho-Oh provides quite a few EXP and it's unfortunately the best training Pokemon. So by the end of the run I think I have the entire Ho-Oh population eradicated. With all Pokemon caught and evolved, we can now take on Brock, with 21 Pokemon registered and after about 9 hours. Not too bad for a first section. After defeating Brock, Route 3 is now finally open for exploration. Beside a couple of trainers, there are a few new Pokemon I can catch in this area. Here I got myself a Nidoran female and male, a Jigglypuff and a 1% Ekans. No Magikarp salesman, so I made my way straight into Mount Moon. Inside of Mount Moon there was of course a lot of Zubats, which one of them joined my team. But also other new Pokemon, like Paras, Clefairy and its evolution, Clefable. Also Geodude as a rare encounter for some reason at all. That gives me opportunity to tell you about how this game handles trait evolutions. Usually at this stage catching a Geodude, an Abra or a Machop means training to its first evolution stage and, well, that's it. Fortunately, or rather unfortunately for me, they added another way to evolve them. By going to level 35. Yeah. As for now, I continue my way through Mount Moon. As usual, collecting all items along my way, especially that one Moonstone. Moonstones in this stage are also a bit of a problem. We need 3 in total in this section and I can only find 1 hidden in Mount Moon. But don't worry, we are far away from being done with this place. So, for now on, let's head to Cerulean City. On Route 4, there's nothing new for us to catch, so I entered Cerulean City and grabbed the hidden rare candy there. After healing my Pokemon, I decided to go south, directly to Route 5. Route 5 is a game changer for the section, since it allows us to get our hands on wild Meowth, which have the ability of Pickup. Well, you may think it's GG now, infinite money, I can easily grind for infinite rare candies, and you would be right. Would. You see, this game may look like Gen 3, but as I said before, it actually borrows many of its mechanics from Gen 5, including the pickup chart. Well, let's take a look at it. Hold on, are those evolution stones? Is this a sunstone? A King's Rock? Well, I hope there aren't any Sunstone Pokemon or King's Rock Pokemon that I need to catch in this section. No. Well, we need Sunstones and a King's Rock. For that particular reason, I caught 5 Meowth on Route 5 and backtracked my way to Route 1, which is luckily possible in this fan game. You see, since I have to get them to at least level 31 anyways to even have a chance for a Sunstone, I decided to make some extra miles and grinded them up to level 41. This took a while, but the payoff was way better. In the middle of the grind, this happened. Oh god, yes, yes, yes. Anyway, this way, them being at least level 41, I can get rare candies with a 10% probability. I still need a few weak Meowth on my team too, to have a chance to grab a King's Rock, which I unfortunately can't get with my level 41 Meowth. So, a couple of grinded Meowths later, I got back to Route 5. Money now isn't really an issue anymore, thanks to pickup. And with a bit of luck I can collect a few rare candies on the way. I caught 2 Oddish and entered Hidden Forest, where I caught a Weepinbell, Staryu, another Rattata for an upcoming trade, and Ash's Bulbasaur, which is kindly offered to us to join our team. Leaving the Hidden Forest again, I returned to Cerulean City to trade my Rattata for Tangela. Hold on, every Pokemon is available. Gen 5 mechanics? Oh no, Tangrowth. For this it needs to level up well, knowing Ancient Power as far as I know. Surely it can't learn... no. More grinding, well... okay. At least it's a traded Pokemon, which gives us a boosted EXP gain, but still. Why? Kanto at this stage is fairly open, so I went back to the Hidden Forest to get to Route 24. After defeating the trainers here, I caught a Venonat and an Abra. A douche in the Pokemon Center tells us that he bailed his Charmander for being weak. In the pouring rain we found a Charmander not too far off and we take it with us, like in the anime. A few steps more south, we enter a small village, where we have another encounter with Team Rocket. As usual, they blast off again, and the final Kanto starter, Squirtle, joins up. Of course, including a pair of sunglasses. It was at this stage that one of my Meowth picked a 1% King's Rock, which made me literally burst out in joy, almost as I would have found a shiny. On Route 25 we stopped to get a Bellsprout. Making our way more south to Vermilion City, there's Bill's Lighthouse. Here we find Ash Krabby from the anime. After a little stop at the lighthouse, we obtained the old rod. A few steps later we are finally in Vermilion City. We almost hit the boundaries of this section since we cannot advance further, but here we have another trait evolution, where an NPC offers us a Farfetch'd for a Spearow. Since Galar and its Pokemon hasn't been implemented yet, there's unfortunately no Sirfetch'd. After speaking to the Pokemon fan club president, who's into Fearow this time for some reason, but hey, I'm not here to judge, he gifts us a bicycle. Before leaving Vermilion to grind our Pokemon for the evolutions, I test out my old rod and got myself a Magikarp. Well, now we basically have all Pokemon we can catch up so far, so let's get into evolving. Using one of the Moonstones I either got from Mount Moon or as a pick-up, I evolved Jigglypuff into a Wigglytuff. One of my Meowth I let evolve into a Persian, and it unfortunately lost its pickup ability. Geodude evolves into a Graveler and into a Golem at level 35, after about 50 minutes, thanks to grinding Ho-Ohs. Nidoran male and female evolved into Nidorino and Nidorina, and into Nidoking and Nidoqueen, using the other 2 Moonstones I found on the way. Using the pickup ability. Magikarp evolved into Gyarados after around 20 minutes, of mostly looking for Ho-Oh. Paras evolved into Parasect at level 24, Zubat into a Golbat at level 22, and Golbat into a Crobat, with enough happiness, which, as usual, took forever. I used my King's Rock and leveled up Poliwhirl during daytime to get a Politoed. Tangela evolved into Tangrowth at level 38 after learning Ancient Power. And after around 12 Ho-Ohs, and an hour and a half of searching them. That's our first Gen 4 Pokemon. Ekans evolved into an Arbok, Venonat into a Venomoth, Krabby into a Kingler, Oddish into Gloom, and using a Sunstone on it into a Bellossom. Abra into a Kadabra and into an Alakazam at level 35. Now to our starters. Yeah, it hurts that we have to evolve Bulbasaur, but it's kind of what Ash did if he would be competent. So, here we go. Bulbasaur evolved into Ivysaur and into a Venusaur at level 32. Squirtle into a Wartortle and into a Blastoise at level 36 and around 1 hour. And finally Charmander into Charmeleon and Charmeleon into Charizard at level 36, bringing our total to 71 Pokemon. There's one more thing we can do now though. I mentioned earlier that we have access to the daycare. A lot of the baby Pokemon aren't available to us yet because of the different egg groups and no Ditto, but we can get our hands on 2 more Pokemon. By breeding a female Jigglypuff and a female Clefairy respectively, we can get Igglybuff and Cleffa. Pichu is unavailable since the starter Pikachu is always a male and, as I said, there's no Ditto around yet. After this pretty tedious section, I finally had all 73 Pokemon I needed to face Misty, and get my second badge. With Misty defeated, well, unfortunately nothing changes. We still can't get past Vermilion City and we have to take on Surge, unfortunately. With now Surge out of the way, the SSN opens to us. And we need to follow the plot a bit. I used that time to grind a bit for money and pick up items by defeating all trainers, and trading away my Butterfree for Eradicate, and trading it back immediately, as in the anime. Suddenly Team Rocket took over. Who could have imagined? As you can imagine, defeating Team Rocket was no issue at all, and after defeating the admin in the captain's quarters, we can continue our journey. Now the east of Vermilion is open for exploration. So we make our way to Route 11. Here we can catch a Drowsy. After releasing my Butterfree, and yes, it had to be done, no regrets here, my next destination was the underground path, leading to Route 8. From this point, Saffron City and Lavender Town are open for exploration. This excludes the Pokemon Tower. Staying on Route 8 for a while, I used my chance to capture Vulpix and a Growlithe. Stopping by in Saffron, I grabbed the Master Ball from the Sylph Company. Since the most evolution stones are not available yet, Drowsy is the only Pokemon I need to take care of in this section. Going back to Route 1, Entry Paltrick for Ho-Oh did the job as usual, and within 10 minutes I managed to evolve Drowsy into a Hypno. Making my way through Sabrina's gym is a horror as usual, but I finally was able to defeat her and get badge number... Is Sabrina pulling a Claire on me here? Alright, she denies us the badge until we climb to Pokemon Tower, and so we do. Arriving there, the tower is now accessible for us, and I used my chance to add Ghastly, Haunter, and a very rare wild Gengar to my dex total, bringing it to 80 Pokemon. After climbing the tower and defeating the last trainer, we are now worthy to re-challenge Sabrina. F*** you, Sabrina. After somehow getting to her again, I hate that gym, I defeated her a second time. And now we have ourselves the 4th badge. After defeating Sabrina for real now, the west gate of Saffron City is finally open. And we can make our way to Route 7. Here there is an iconic anime Primeape. We already have Primeape, so it doesn't add up to our dex total. We still take him with us, of course. Misty blocks our way to test our strength, but as you can imagine, she is no threat to us at all. In Celadon City there is a gift Eevee, which you can pick up now. When you get it, make sure to save in front of it, and make sure that it is a female Eevee. In this section we still don't have a Ditto, and to get the other evolutions, your Eevee has to be a female. Because breeding a male Eevee with another Pokemon which is not Ditto would not give you more Eevees in return. Entering the Celadon department store, we finally have the chance to get the majority of the evolution stones. The Fire, Thunder, Water and Leaf Stone. I immediately bought all the stones I needed and starting evolving the Pokemon I already had. This way I evolved Growlithe into an Arcanine, Vulpix into Volnona, Staryu into Starmie, Weepinbell into a Victreebel, and my other Oddish, after evolving it into a Gloom, into a Vileplume. After taking care of my evolutions, I went back to the daycare and put my female Eevee and my male Pikachu in there to get my hands on a few more Eevees. 7 of them to be more precisely. Getting and hatching them took quite a while, but after doing so I evolved all my Eevees I could at this point. This includes Flareon, Vaporeon, Jolteon and Leafeon by giving them the evolution stones. Espeon and Umbreon by leveling them up with enough happiness at day and nighttime respectively. And Sylveon, which Eevee automatically evolves into when knowing Charm, which the gifted Eevee already does luckily. The only evolution which is not available to us is Glaceon. Route 16 west of Celadon was my next area which I visited. I used that opportunity to get my hands on a Dodo. North of Route 16 there is the Gringy City power plant, which, as you can imagine, hosts a couple of new, more Pokemon to catch. Here I caught a Grimer, Muk, Magnemite and a Magneton. Wild Magnemite and Magneton also have the chance to hold the Metal Coat. And by using Thief, I got one of them while grinding. We will need that evolution item for later. After getting all Pokemon I wanted in the power plant, I made my way to Cycling Road. It is for some reason open for us without the Celadon Gym badge. I made sure to talk to Professor Oak's aide in the gate building to get the amulet coin. Even though we don't have money issues at all, more money in this run is always better. Nothing for us to do on Cycling Road beside battling the trainers for money, so Fuchsia is next. In Fuchsia the East Gatehouse is blocked, but we still can enter the Safari Zone and the new area south of the city. The Safari Zone was my first goal, and there were a couple of very annoying 1% encounter rate Pokemon I had to catch there. First Pokemon I got in the Safari Zone was a static gift Tauros. Unfortunately not 11 of them, but still. One more for the Pokedex. Here I caught Execute, Rhyhorn, Pinsir, Scyther, Chansey, and I fished for a Horsey and a Dratini. Well, Dratini means that we have to get Dragonite at some point, but I wasn't concerned yet. Also, with Horsey I made sure to catch several ones. To get one holding a Dragon Scale, which is also important later. Outside of the Safari Zone I decided to stay a little bit longer in the city, and fish in the little pond behind the Warden's house. Here I got myself another Poliwag and 2 Slowpokes. After that I made my way south of Fuchsia, to Route 19. At the end of it there is a roadblock for us, but we can get some new Pokemon here at least. I got Executor and Lickitung here. At the end of the route we meet Team Rocket again, trying to steal Misty's Togepi. My Ho-Oh sent them flying off again, when Misty challenged me as well. After winning against her, there really is nothing for us to do on this route anymore. Oh, and I also ran into a shiny Spearow at this point. My very first shiny in 2021, and my first shiny since 2019. Hopefully this ends my shiny drought. After battling every trainer I can to this point and having collected quite the amount of money, I made my way back to Celadon City. To its game corner, to be more precise. After getting the coin case, I didn't spend too much time gambling this time around. I just bought all the necessary coins instead, all the 9,999 for Porygon. After overpaying way too much, I could add Porygon to my team. The update item isn't available yet, so no Porygon 2 or Z yet. Also I made sure to stop by the department store again to buy some more evolution stones. Doing so I evolved my Magneton into a Magnezone, using a Thunderstone, and evolved my Scyther by letting it hold the Metal Coat and leveling it up with a rare candy. Also I unfortunately had to evolve my starter Pikachu into a Raichu, since there's no restriction on that either. I know, it's not canon, but Ash having a Ho-Oh isn't either particularly, so yeah. Let's just forget about that. Also, see, Pikachu is still here for some reason. I made my way back to Route 1 for some more Ho-Oh training and evolved my Horsey into a Seadra, and Seadra into a Kingdra, having it hold the Dragon Scale. Lickitung evolved into Lickilicky at level 33 after knowing Rollout. My other Poliwag I evolved into a Poliwhirl and into a Poliwrath using a Water Stone. Dodo evolved into a Dodrio at level 31. One of my Slowpokes evolved into Slowbro at level 37. My other Slowpoke evolved into a Slowking by holding the King's Rock and leveling up during the day. My Chansey finally evolved into a Blissey with enough happiness. Rhyhorn into Rhydon at level 42, which took about 2 hours. And ultimately Dratini into Dragonair and Dragonair into a Dragonite by using all of my rare candies I have found. But you know what? Since Fuchsia City was open and Koga's gym was open as well, I tried out if I could face Koga without Erika's badge. And well, it works. It just works. Right with the spirit of the Professor Oak challenge, getting as many Pokemon with the least amount of badges, and now with 124 Pokemon, we are about to get badge 5. With Koga defeated and completely skipping Erika's gym, we need to backtrack to Route 19 to get ourselves the Vermilion ticket. With that, going back to Vermilion, we are now able to take the boat to Sinnoh Island. Since there are no HMs in the game, we can't simply surf there, and we need to take the ferry instead. On Sinnoh, we immediately get the Old Rod and fish for Goldeen. Heading straight into the Pokemon Mansion afterwards, we can catch Coughing, Wheezing, Ponyta, and in the lower floor, Ditto and Magma. Some Magma hold the Magmarizer on them, so be sure to use Thief until you get the item. Using our newly acquired Ditto, immediately we can use it to breed Raichu and a Magma with it to get Pichu and Magby respectively. On Sinnoh Island there's an NPC which trades a Raichu for an Electrode. Since I don't want to trade away my starter for some reason, I evolved Pichu into a Pikachu and into a Raichu afterwards, and returned back to Sinnoh. That Electrode I immediately put into the daycare to breed for a Voltorb. Afterwards, going back to the training on Route 1 and using rare candies, I evolved my Goldeen into a Seaking, my Ponyta into a Rapidash at level 40, my Magma into a Magmortar by leveling up holding the Magmarizer. With now 137 Pokemon registered, we can take on Blaine easily. And after doing his little volcano riddle, we managed to get badge number 6. With now 6 badges, I return back to Viridian City. To my big surprise, the gym is now open, despite me skipping an entire gym. Entering it reveals that Team Rocket and Giovanni's ultimate plan, creating the genetically perfect Pokemon, went kinda wrong. Since Gary can't handle playing the hero, it's our job to defeat the monster Mewtwo. And with defeating I mean catching. After a couple of tries I caught it in an Ultra Ball, and soon after Team Rocket challenged me to battle, well, I guess you can already see where this went. The gym is now destroyed, but before I actually grab the gym badge I make sure to get the Lucky Egg, and Mr. Mime in Pallet Town, which voluntarily wants to join my team. We can't breed it for Mime Jr. yet unfortunately though. The guard west of Viridian tells us that she will only let us pass after obtaining 8 badges. I picked up the Earth badge and again tried my luck with only 7 badges. Funny enough, even without getting the Rainbow badge from Erika, we can now enter Route 22. On Route 22, which is the last route on mainland Kanto which we visit, we can get our last Pokemon before challenging the Indigo League. I got an Onix and a Machoke here. Giving my Machoke a rare candy, it immediately evolved into a Machamp. And that Machamp I bred with a Ditto for a Machop. The last Pokemon I have to evolve now is Onix. For that I went back to the power plant to look for another Magnemite or Magneton holding the Metal Coat. After a short time I got my hands on one and leveled up Onix, wearing it, evolving it into a Steelix. Now our way to the Indigo League is completely free, with 144 Pokemon. But before undertaking the challenge, we have the chance to buy some more new items at the vendors. Those items include all of the incenses. Giving Blissey the Luck Incense and our Mr. Mime the Odd Incense, we can breed for 2 more Pokemon. Them being Happiny and Mime Jr. And now, for real, with 146 Pokemon registered, we can take on the Indigo League. It's quite much as in the anime, and instead of the Elite Four, I have to fight ranked trainers. The same way as in the anime, I defeated the Water Stage, the Rock Stage, the ice stage, and after a short intermission, where I have to beat Brock, who congratulated me on having 8 badges, I continue and beat the grass stage. The Indigo stage is the last obstacle between Ash and being the champion. And Richie is my opponent. His team is pretty high leveled, but still my Ho-Oh one-shotted his Happy, Sparky and Zippo. Now that I am the champion... What? I did place 16? 16? I have a Ho-Oh for fuck's sake. Well, it's still Ash after all, I guess. Now you may think that I can head directly to Johto, right? Well, no. It's time for the Orange Islands. One of my favorite seasons of the anime. Returning back to Pallet Town, Professor Oak and all of the town congratulate us to our achievements. Professor Oak wants us to visit Valencia Island on the Orange Archipelago. So we will take the blimp in Viridian City. Unfortunately, it can't just take off yet because of a Furo problem in Viridian Forest. Going there and resolving the issue, we can now set off to Valencia Island. But not before we do a final stop in Pallet Town. You see, for some reason there's now a new NPC popping up, a little girl. Interacting with her will not reveal much information. But she offers us a mysterious Pokeball before she vanishes. And, well, inside of the Pokeball is a Mew. Adding Mew to our Pokedex, we can return back to Viridian City. And now the blimp service offers us a trip to Valencia. After entering the blimp, we find out that it is a trap set up by Team Rocket. Defeating them will result in the blimp crashing and we wake up on the warm beaches of Valencia Island. Because this is still the Professor Oak challenge, the first thing we do is fishing. And Valencia Island gives us the first opportunity to get our hand on a cloister. After speaking with Professor Ivy, she gives us the GS ball. And she tells us about the Orange Islands League. To participate, we have to go to Mikan Island. We do exactly that, but sail for Tangelo Island first. Here, as on Valencia, we do some fishing. By doing so, we have the first opportunity to get ourselves a tentacle, which we gladly add to the Pokedex, of course. Not much to do here for us otherwise, but at the east side of the island we get into a bit of a problem with some trainers and the Lapras. Defeating them and kicking Tracy's butt will result in Lapras wanting to join our team in our journey, which we of course accept. Now having resolved the problem in Tangelo, Mikan Island is our next goal, and its gym. Those gyms I handle like the main ones, meaning that of course here as well, at first we will catch and evolve all what is possible first. Returning back to mainland Kanto, I bred my Cloyster with Ditto to get a Shelder, and trained Tentacool to level 30 to evolve into a Tentacruel. With now 152 Pokemon registered, we take on the first Orange Islands gym. After defeating Sissy, she hands us the Coral Eye badge. Our next goal in the Orange Island League is Naval Island. Arriving on Naval Island, of course, business as usual, we fish for a new Pokemon. This Pokemon now is Seal, which we add gladly to the Pokedex as number 153. Naval Gym is located in the Naval Rock, a huge mountain which we have to climb. Inside of the mountain, strong trainers and Pokemon awaits us. Being here, we use the opportunity to add Electabuzz here. Also, make sure to use Thief again to get the Electrizer. Cubone, Dugtrio and a Diglett. Going into the underground floor of Naval Rock, we find ourselves the Helix and the Dome Fossil. Exiting the mountain again, we make our way back to Sinnoh Island to revive our fossils. This way we can get Kabuto and Omanyte. Staying in mainland Kanto, it's time for training again. Our Cubone we immediately train up to evolve it into a Marowak. Seal into a Dugong, as well as Electabuzz evolving into an Electivire, by it holding the Electrizer while leveling it up. At last we have to bring both of our fossil Pokemon to level 40, to evolve them into Omastar after about 1 hour of grinding, and Kabutops, bringing our dex total to 164 Pokemon. Before we return back to Naval Island, we breed our Electivire with a Ditto to get an Elekid. With now 165 Pokemon registered, we can take on the gym leader Danny. After defeating him, he will give us the Sea Ruby badge. Our next stop will be the 7 Grapefruit Islands. Arriving here, it seems like the islands are a little bit barren. And you will soon find out why. A Snorlax ate all of the grapefruit and the ecosystem is on the verge of collapse. We promise to get rid of the Snorlax problem and we add Snorlax to the dex total. As you can imagine, we immediately do a 180 and return back to the daycare. Giving Snorlax the Lax Incense and breeding it with a Ditto will give us a Munchlax, making it Pokemon number 167. After our little stop, we find ourselves on Trovita Island. The next gym is located here and there is no new Pokemon to catch and evolve. So at first we defeat Lorelei and Gym Leader Rudy. Doing so results in us getting the Spike Shell badge from Rudy. Ascorbia Islands is our next island. On Ascorbia, by entering the grass area while doing the side quest, we have our first chance to get ourselves a Psyduck. After defeating Team Rocket again, I gave Psyduck a rare candy and it immediately evolved into a Golduck. All what can be done is done here, so we set sail for Kumquat Island and the last gym. There is no new Pokemon we can catch here either, so we take on the Kumquat Island and defeat the gym leaders. Doing so results in us getting the last orange gym badge, the Jade Star badge. Pumelo is the next place where the Orange Island League will be, so we take the ship once more. Before we take place in the league, Misty challenges us once more. And as always, it's not really a big problem for us and our overleveled team. We register for the Orange Island League and this time we immediately can fight the champion, Drake. Defeating him leaves us the champion of the Orange Islands League, this time for real. But we are not done with Kanto yet though, as we still have to hunt down the legendary birds. The Elements Islands are now unlocked for us, and I made my way to Articuno. As you can imagine, with all the legendaries it was kind of a struggle. But after 17 Ultra Balls it stayed in. Moltres was next, and it gave my team a good run for their money. One soft reset and 50 Ultra Balls later it decided to stay in the bowl. Zapdos was next and the last of the birds. And after around 13 Ultra Balls I was able to call Zapdos mine. So what to do now? I returned back to Pallet Town and was greeted by Gary, who wanted to battle me. After crushing his team, we speak with Oak. He gives us the task to travel to the Johto region, to let Kurt take a look at the mysterious GS ball. And so we make our way west of Viridian City once more. Now that we have defeated the Indigo League and the Orange League, and we are still missing Erika's badge, but no one cares, we can take our first step into Johto, old habits. With 172 Pokemon registered in our pokedex. And after around 38 hours of game time. Now that we are in Johto, let's not lose any time. We are on Route 45 and, well, there's really nothing for us to do here. So, going west, eventually we will hit New Barktown. We meet Professor Elm in his lab, but this time sadly he has no starter for us. No Togepi egg as well, so, well, thanks for wasting my time, Elm. On Route 29, west of New Bark, we finally have our first wild Johto Pokemon which we can encounter. But first, an iconic Heracross will join up our team, making it the first Pokemon we get in this region. Staying here we catch a Spinarak and a Stantler. I discover a Chikorita standing there and, interacting with it, it fled into the woods. Following Chikorita we find ourselves in a snowy area, where we get our hands on one of my favorites, Hoothoot. A bit later, eventually, there's the Chikorita which ran away from us earlier. And, like in the anime, Chikorita joins up. Heading to Cherry Grove, there's little for us to do here as well. When fishing we can get our hands on a Wooper here, before we leave to Route 30 in the north. Halfway to Violet City, we stop to get ourselves a Ladybug in the high grass. A bit later we arrive in Violet, and because I want to know where we hit the end of the road with the badges we have, I decided to skip it entirely and try out how far I can reach. Before I left the city though, I used the chance to use my old rod to catch a Marill here. Actually, even without the badge from Faulkner, we can advance further, so we make our way into Route 36 in the west. Maybe all the way up to Goldenrod or Ecruteak is free. As you can imagine, well, Sudowoodo is here as well, and, well, yeah, this is a dead end for now. Directly connected to Route 36 are the Ruins of Elf. We get an unknown here and see how much further we can advance into Johto. Route 32, surprisingly, unlike the Johto games, isn't blocked at all, and so, without the Violet City badge, we can pass. That is really cool actually. Staying here allowed me to get my hands on a few more Pokemon, including Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee, Mareep, and Sandrit, which all made great additions to our Pokedex. Here we can also find the terrific Valley, which some of you may know from the anime. Bringing our Charizard here, we are allowed to fight Lisa and her female Charizard, Chala. Only difference is that we defeat her actually with a Ho-Oh, instead of losing. We continue our journey onto Route 33. Before we look for more Pokemon to capture in the high grass, we run into our next Johto starter, Cyndaquil, which also gladly joins our team. So, only Totodile is missing for now. Searching the high grass area, Pineco also joined the Dex total. Now we reached Azalea Town, and do what we originally were tasked to do in Johto. But delivering the GS ball is unfortunately as fruitless and boring as it is in the anime, so, well, don't expect too much. After delivering the GS ball, I tried to get into Ilex Forest, but this is our next dead end for now. Well, now that we have captured everything so far and can't advance further, it is time to train and breed, and evolve what we have so far. I trained at my known Ho-Oh spot at Route 1 and managed to get my Spinarak into Ariados, Hoot into Noctowl at level 20, Leddybar into Ledian, Marill into an Azumarill, Sandrit into Furret, Mareep into Fluffy and into Ampharos at level 30, Wooper into Quagsire, Pineco into a Fortress, and both of my Johto starters into their final evolution. Unfortunately, this part has the Tyrogue line, and we need to evolve other Pokemon too. So at first I bred my Azumarill holding the Sea Incense to get an Azurill, and Hitmonlee to get a Tyrogue. Tyrogue's attack and defense must be equal at level 20 to evolve it into an Hitmontop, but having access to the Celadon department store made this a lot easier and expensive. And after a little bit, I managed to get a Hitmontop. Our Dex total is now 203 Pokemon, and with Faulkner seemingly being skippable, we take on the Azalea Town gym leader, Bugsy. Defeating Bugsy was not a problem at all, and doing so also unlocked the Ilex Forest. In Ilex Forest I called a wild Snubbull, Houndour and an Ursaring. Pretty cool Pokemon to find here. Located inside of the forest is the Pokemon Swap Meet. This is where trainers from all places trade their Pokemon. Most of the trades are not interesting to us, but one guy is offering an Apom for our Mankey. And this is a trade I gladly accept. Leaving the location, we are not out of the forest yet. After a short battle with Misty, we get the last Johto starter Pokemon, Totodile, coming in a nice Lurball. Also, of course, many of you have waited for that moment, we also find Ash Shiny Noctowl here, as an iconic Pokemon. Finally, leaving Ilex Forest, we found ourselves on Route 34. In the high grass I found a Girafarig and made my way north to Goldenrod City. Goldenrod has a lot to offer to us. Nice tall buildings, the next gym, which we might or might not do, the radio tower, and the game corner. I visited the game corner to see if there's any new Pokemon to get here and yes. And it's expensive. Wobbuffet alone costs around 200,000 Pokedollars. Also we need Gligar and Larvitar. Great. Anyways, in total we need over 400,000 Pokedollars to get all the prizes. And I have 55,000. That sucks. And remember, we don't have access to any gym or Elite Four rematches. Well, I sold all I could out of my inventory, and it still wasn't enough. Luckily, using a combination of pick up and stealing star pieces off of Wild Staryu on the Orange Islands, I was able to grind for valuable items pretty quickly. Still, it took me about 8 hours to get the money. This is the most expensive Wobbuffet in existence. At least they can give me a golden one for this amount of money, but, well, I'm not complaining here. After obtaining all of the prized Pokemon, the first thing I did was to put Larvitar into the daycare. Since the highest level Pokemon we can fight in the wild is only level 50 and leveling is scaled, once a Pokemon reaches the 30s, the grinding is not very efficient anymore. Even with the Lucky Egg. Putting it in a daycare is much more effective at this stage. After doing so and returning all my way back to Goldenrod, I tried out how far I can reach until I hit the next dead end. Route 35 is accessible, and here I got a Yanma, which I unfortunately forgot to name after Candy Eevee this time. National Park is also here, but for now I only got a Sunkern outside of the competition hours. Route 36 is our dead end for now, unfortunately, since we can't get Sudowoodo out of the way. We don't have the squirt bottle here, and only when we defeated Whitney it is scripted to attack us. So now you may ask, what more to do in this part? I looked into the bug catching contest and there wasn't any new Pokemon to catch, but when winning it one could get one of the evolution stones. This is not important to us now, since we have all evolution stones we need already, but it will become important eventually. So, now that we can't get any more Pokemon, let's go back to the most fun part, grinding. Doing so on Route 1, I managed to evolve my Snubbull into a Granbull, Houndour into an Houndoom at level 24, Aipom into Ambipom at level 32 after learning Double Hit, Yanma into Yanmega at level 33 after learning Ancient Power. I used one of my Sunstones to evolve the Sunkern into a Sunflora, Totodile into Croconaw and into a Feraligatr, and finally Larvitar into Pupitar and Pupitar into Tyranitar. After spending around 3 hours on Cycling Road and feeding it all the rare candies I picked up. At last, I bred my Ursaring at the daycare to get a Teddiursa. I bred my Wobbuffet, it holding the Lax Incense to get a Wynaut. We are now 225 Pokemon in, and I can take on Whitney. After crushing her with Ho-Oh, as things should be, now let's get Sudowoodo. Alright, Whitney is pulling a Claire on me, I need to defeat her again. Now let's get Sudowoodo. And it still doesn't move. Great. It is unfortunately, but Sudowoodo seems to be scripted to move only when defeated Whitney and Faulkner. So, because it was my only way, I had to get back to Violet City and get the badge. Now after getting both badges, Sudowoodo finally is interactable. And doing so makes it attacking us. After successfully catching it as our 226th Pokemon, the way to Ecruteak is finally clear. A guy on Route 36 will gift us an old Amber after defeating him. Which gets us one of the last Kanto Pokemon missing, Aerodactyl. Also there's the upgrade item laying around for some reason, which will make our Porygon into Porygon 2. We continue north and for a change of things, there is nothing for us to do on Route 37. Let's head to Ecruteak. In Ecruteak, the first thing we do is to head for the Burnt Tower, only to get greeted by Team Rocket. We make them blasting off again as usual. Like in the original games, we don't need to get Ecruteak's badge yet. The guardhouse in the east is blocked, but the west is open for us. Heading to Route 38, we get Murkrow, Dunsparce, and a Remoraid here. I grabbed the shiny stone and continued my way to Route 39. In the high grass here, we can add Smeargle, Miltank, Natu, Kecleon for some reason, and Hoppip to the dex total. Before reaching Olivine, there's an iconic battle which we have to do, where we see one of those rare trainer shinies, which you may remember from the anime as well. Well, kinda. That Kecleon would have been a better shiny. In Olivine itself, I grabbed the Sooth Bell, which makes happiness-based evolutions a lot easier. And made my way to the lighthouse. At the very top of the lighthouse, there's the gym leader Jasmine, together with her sick Empress Amphi. She tasked us to go to Cianwood City to get Amphi the secret medicine. Which we will do. Eventually. But not now. Instead we use that opportunity to evolve and breed what we have. And talk about the bug catching contest. The only Pokemon which we have to breed here is Sudowoodo. With it holding the rock incense we get Bonsly. Other than that, evolving Remoraid we get an Octillery. Evolving Natu we get Xatu, and evolving Hoppip we get Skiploom and Jumpluff eventually. Now let's talk about Murkrow. It needs a Dusk Stone to evolve. I told you about the bug catching contest before, and that you can win basically all evolution stones beside the Ice Stone here. This includes the Dusk Stone, which we cannot buy or find in the wild up until this point. Participating in the bug catching contest and winning it will result in us getting one of 10 available stones, making it a 10% probability in theory to get the Dusk Stone, which isn't too bad at first. Well, if you could actually win the bug catching contest. You see, I ran into a little bit of a problem here. Fire Ash is a fan game which is constantly being worked on. That does mean that from time to time glitches can pop up, which hopefully will be addressed in the next version. But as of version 2.2.2, at least to me the bug catching contest was, well, pun intended, completely bugged. I did the contest over and over and over and over again. 50 times to be specific. After around 20 times and not getting past place 3 and losing to a Weedle when I got a Pinsir or a Beedrill, well, I actually started making a chart. My next 30 attempts I wrote down to confirm that there was a problem. So after a full day of researching and doing it over and over again, I decided to pass the contest, since I can't win it anyways. I posted a chart on the Fire Ash Discord as well, and maybe this will be addressed in the next version. Oh, and by the way, at this point, a huge shout out to the guys over there. They did help me with every time I had issues, and in general it's a very friendly server. Thanks a lot, guys. Well, now we have a problem. At this point I can either wait until the issues with the contest are addressed, which can take months, or I can continue with my challenge. I decided to continue the challenge and evolve Murkrow and all the other Duskstone Pokemon at the next possible time I can. If you think I failed the challenge by doing so, or think I don't, that is completely up to you to decide. I continued my story without Honchkrow for now, with 241 Pokemon registered. We return back to Olivine and take the ship to Cianwood. Unfortunately, arriving there, the transport breaks down, and the teleporter in the Pokemon Center doesn't work either. So we are stranded here until we defeat Chuck. But before doing so, I got my hands on the secret potion for Amphi, so I don't forget later. And made my way to the gym. No new Pokemon here, so to get away we have to defeat Chuck, and gaining a new badge. Defeating Chuck makes the boat magically working again, and so we take the boat back to Olivine City. And here we are. That is not Olivine. Well, we are stranded on one of the Whirl Islands, so why not stay here for a little bit, I guess. Staying here, all the NPCs talked about the World Cup, so let's participate. We take the ship to Yellow Rock, where we find Misty. After defeating her and fish for a Corsola, we can make our way to the next island. As Galar isn't implemented at the time of the video, there is unfortunately no Corsola. On Blue Island we register for the World Cup, and, well, what should I say? Ho-Oh completely wipes the floor with all of the trainers. At least something Ash can win so far, except for the Filler League, but yeah. Before we go now back to Olivine for real, we have a last stop at Ogi Isle. Here we meet up with Richie again, who tells us about a baby Lugia, which is threatened by Team Rocket. We run into Botch and Cassidy again.
That was unpleasant.
Our old friends.
Huh?
Ah, Cassidy!
and Butch.
The name is Butch.
And after kicking their butts for good, there's Lugia waiting for us. Of course we take Lugia with us, I mean, who wouldn't, and go back to Olivine. After delivering the secret potion to Jasmine, and before actually taking on her gym, let's do a quick detour. All the way back to Kanto. You see, the moment I arrived back in Olivine, the Safari Zone got upgraded and now has a Johto section. This means even more new Pokemon to catch. Returning to Fuchsia, I made my way to the Safari Zone. Here I got myself a Shuckle, Smoochum, Misdreavus, another Duskstone Pokemon by the way, and Chinchou by fishing. I evolved Chinchou immediately into Lantern and Smoochum into Jinx, and made my way back to Olivine. With now 249 Pokemon, I defeated Jasmine. Doing so and getting my 5th Johto badge, I tried to see if I can get around Morty's badge and just return to the Burnt Tower for some more legendaries. And I was right. Morty's badge seems to be completely optional, and so, here in the Burnt Tower, after way too much time, I did add Entei, Suicune and Raikou to my Pokedex. They still have Raw, but thanks to Gen 5 mechanics, me having a higher level always make the attack fail. Leaving the Burnt Tower behind, we decided to check on the Eastern Guardhouse. It is now passable, but Eugene is demanding a fight, and we gladly obliterate him. Route 42 is now open to us, and immediately we get gifted by a strange Pokemon egg, which, a few steps later, hatches into a Fanphy. Other than that, on this route we find a new Pokemon, Kangaskhan. Adding Kangaskhan also finally completes our Kanto Pokedex. There seems to be quite some trouble at Route 43 at the Lake of Rage, so we check out what's going on. Team Rocket seems to cause some trouble at the lake, and so, after teaming up with Lance and fainting a shiny Gyarados of course, Team Rocket is retreating, and the way to Mahogany Town is free. Mahogany Town is pretty small, and other than the originals, I can just pass it without any roadblock. And so I moved on to Route 44. Here I stopped to get a Macago and a Quillfish. Connecting route... Oh, I completely forgot about my pizza. Can you continue for me please?
Connecting Route 44 and Blackthorn is the Ice Cave, which is our next goal. Inside, we have to solve some puzzles on the ice floor, but also we get new Pokemon like Delibird, Swinub, Piloswine, and Sneasel. We don't have a Razorclaw yet, so its evolution is unavailable for now. Ice Cave is pretty short, so soon we find ourselves in Blackthorn City. The east exit is blocked until we defeated Claire, and Dragon's Den is also impassable for us, so all we can do here is evolve what we have so far. Macargo will breed with Ditto to get Slugma, and Fanphy evolves into Donphan. Piloswine was a bit of an issue, since it needed to know Ancient Power to level up. A move which it learns at level 1. Lucky for us, the move relearner is located in Blackthorn, and for a heart skill in return we were able to make Piloswine relearn the move. Leveling it up, and it evolved into Mamoswine. This is all the Pokemon we can get here. Now we have to face Claire. Her gym is business as usual, and after defeating her, who could have thought, we are not getting that badge yet. Other than the other games, Claire isn't salty, but we needed to go to the Dragon's Den anyway because there seems to be some trouble. We follow Claire, and after making our way through the Dragon's Den, we end up in the Dragon Holy Land. Team Rocket is causing trouble again as usual. After taking care of that, Claire returns to her gym, and we finish the match.
Now, with 6 out of 8 Johto badges, the Silver League conference is opening for us. For some reason at all, they don't count the badges. Well, I don't care. Exiting Blackthorn on the east, we find ourselves on Route 45. And the Silver Conference is right ahead. We enter the league and make our way through the ranks. After a while, we have an iconic match with our original rival Gary. But we obliterate him, as usual. Our last match will be with Harrison and his Blaziken. And, as you could have guessed now, we lose. Well, good job, Ash. On our way back home to Pallet Town, we face Misty one more time. And, after defeating her, she tells us that we should speak to Oak. Pallet Town is luckily not far away, and after a few steps we are back home. Inside of Oak's lab, his aide will give us the shiny charm. Speaking to the master himself, he asks us to get to the Hoenn region next. To participate in the league there. Maybe we will win that one. Whatever happened to the GS ball, by the way? Can you at least answer me that, Oak? So, before we head out to Hoenn now, what Johto Pokemon are actually missing? To be specific, 4. Mantine, Skarmory, Togepi and Togetic. And so, after 52 hours and 22 minutes, we take the boat from Vermilion City to Littleroot. And with that, the Hoenn region awaits us. After we arrive in the region, the first thing which we do here is to speak with Professor Birch and to meet May. Our team completely obliterates her, and we are gifted our first Pokemon of the region, Torchic. Before we continue to Route 101, we stay a little bit longer in Littleroot, and fish for a Wingull here. Entering Route 101 is where the real fun begins. We add Wild Poochyena and Duskull here. Using the old reliable, in the little ponds there's also Wild Relicanth on this route. A bit random, but okay. Passing Oldale Town and straight onto Route 102, the fun continues. I caught 2 Seedot, Zigzagoon, 2 Wurmple, 2 Ralts, 1 male and 1 female, Surskit and Lotad here, bringing the dex total to 274 Pokemon. Petalburg lies in the west, and beside meeting up May again, the only thing we can do here to advance is to beat her dad, Norman. I hope he remembers our legendary bird well, because we will be back for him later. Onto Route 104, our journey in Hoenn continues. And before entering the Petalburg Woods, we stop to catch Shroomish and the Taillow here. In the Petalburg Woods, well, there's an iconic Taillow waiting for us. So, even though I already caught one, the little fella can sure join up our team. The woods are quite a big area, with lots of grass and new Pokemon to catch, like Seviper and Cacnea. After adding those up, there's yet another Pokemon which you can add to our Pokedex. Hidden within the Petalburg Woods, there's an iconic Trico, which joins up too. Well, that's 2 starter Pokemon before the first gym. Quite cool. We leave the forest north and find ourselves on the other half of Route 104. And head straight to Rustboro. Rustboro is a dead end for now, until we advance with the story. So let's see what else we can do here before we take on the gym. For one, there's Team Rocket here, and one blasting off later, Roxy tells us that she's ready for a gym battle. We are not quite ready yet to beat her though. Remember that I caught 2 Seedot earlier? There's an NPC which trades a Makuhita here. So we gladly accept this trade. Now, with the first dead end in Hoenn, let's get to evolve what we have and advance with the Professor Oak challenge. As a quick reminder for those of you who entered the video series here for some reason, we have to catch and evolve all Pokemon we can get until we can take on the next gym. Returning back to our most favorite training spot on Route 1, we use the Repel trick to fight Ho-Oh over and over again. As usual, and manage to evolve our Torchic into Combusken and Blaziken at level 36. Makuhita into Hariyama, Poochyena into Mightyena, Wingull into Pelipper at level 25, Seedot into Nuzleaf, and using a Leaf Stone, Nuzleaf into Shiftry, Zigzagoon into Linoon, 1 Wurmple into Silicune, and I got lucky and the other Wurmple evolved into Cascoon. After that I evolved both of them into their final evolution, Dustox and Beautifly. Our female Ralts we did evolve into Curlia, and Curlia evolved into Gardevoir at level 30. We don't have access to a Dawnstone yet, so Gallade will be a thing later. Surskit evolved into Masquerain, Shroomish into Breloom, Taillow into Swellow, Lotad into Lombre, and using a Water Stone, Lombre into Ludicolo. Anyone here remembers Mirror B? I do. Anyways, Cacnea evolves into Cacturne, Duskull into Dusclops at level 37. We will get its final evolution a little bit later. And finally our other starter Trico into Grovyle and into a Sceptile at level 36. Wow, what a mouthful. With all the Pokemon we can get up to this point, we can finally take on Roxy. After obtaining her badge, Mr. Briny now offers us to get to Dewford Town. Before we take on the gym there, we immediately head north and go for the Granite Cave. In here we add Mawile, Loudred, Aron and Sableye to the dex total. Also we meet Steven, which is nice, I guess. He gives us a hint where we could advance through the cave, and after doing so, it is time to see what's outside. Immediately we find ourselves into a battle with Brock, and after defeating him, we are free to look around a little bit more. There's an iconic corpfish here, which joins up our team. Also, using the rod, we can fish for wild Carvanha. A bit up further north, an old man tells us about his mudkips. And you know what? This is where we get our last Hoenn starter. So, the next thing usually which you should do now is to take on the Dewford Gym. Since we acquired a lot of new Pokemon here, we need to take care of those first. Returning back to Kanto, the first thing I did was breeding our Loudred to get a Whismur, since we couldn't get one in the Granite Cave. I evolved Loudred afterwards to get Exploud, Aron into Laron and into an Aggron at level 42. Corpfish evolved into a less tasty looking form, and Carvanha into Sharpedo. Finally, our Mudkip evolved into Marshtomp and into Swampert at level 36. After all, this section didn't take too long, so the next thing I did was go back to Dewford and take on Brawly. Defeating him, well, we need to defeat him twice. Defeating him for real now results in us getting our second Hoenn badge, and Mr. Briny also now takes us to a new location, Route 109. Route 109 is just south of Slateport City. And I can tell you I'm very happy to finally arrive here. You see, up until this point I heavily needed to rely on Ultra Balls, which not only suck, let's be honest, but they are also quite expensive. You know what is sold at Slateport? Level Balls. And you know what goes very well with Level Balls? An overpowered Ho-Oh! Also I can get some evolution items here, like the Reaper Cloth, the Protector and the Dubious Disc. Not all evolution items unfortunately, but at least some of them. We immediately use the power of shopping to get all Pokeballs and evolution items we need, and start to evolve the Pokemon we can. This way I evolved Dusclops and evolved it into a Dusknoir, Porygon 2 into Porygon Z, Sneasel into Weavile, Gligar into Gliscor, and Rhydon into Rhyperior, with it holding the Protector. While still in Slateport, we get entangled into the scheme of Team Magma, but defeat them quickly. After doing so, the contest hall is our next goal, since we can't advance until we showed May who's the boss here. One obliteration later, and we are allowed to enter Route 110. There's an NPC which will grant us a new rod after answering his questions. And you could have guessed it, the rod gives us new fishing opportunities. For now, let's continue north and stay on Route 110. While being here I caught a Plusle, Minun, Electrike, Galpin, and, when using the good rod here, a Wailmer. A little bit further north begins Mauville City. As usual I tried to test how far I could reach from this point without a gym badge. The east exit is blocked, the west exit too, but the north onto Route 111 seems to be open. Before leaving too quickly though, there's a little bit more business we have to do in Mauville. And with that I mean Game Corner related business. RIP money. Well, after turning into a poor man again, at least I had the opportunity to add Beldum, Bagon, and a way overpriced cast form here. Has, anyone ever used cast form? Ever? Also, 2 pseudo-legendaries. This time I was a little bit smarter, and immediately put both of them in the daycare. And with seemingly Mauville's gym being skippable, I made my way north to Route 111 again. Here I got an Illumise, Volbeat and a Skitty. And when using the rod, a Barboach too. Within Route 111 is the Mirage Kingdom. When the Hoenn part of the anime came out, I already didn't watch the anime anymore that much, so pardon me if I didn't get all the references here. Anyways, with that personal note aside, we meet Misty here, and get our very own Togepi. On to Route 111 again. Eventually, we come across a pathway which leads to a dead end, since Route 112 isn't reachable yet. But we can advance further north, onto Route 113. Honestly, I'm still amazed how open Hoenn is at this point. On Route 113, in the middle of yet another sandstorm, I managed to add Spinda, Skarmory, and Trapinch to the dex total. Eventually, I arrived in Falliber Town. Not much to do here, but when entering the contest hall, we have yet another meet-up with Team Rocket again. You know the drill. Defeating them makes an NPC opening the path to Laveridge, and so we head there. Between Falliber and Laveridge Town is the Fiery Path, and with a quick stop to get ourselves a Numel here, we reach Laveridge. The gym is unfortunately closed until we defeat Watson first, but the trip wasn't completely worthless. You see, there's an NPC which trades a Magikarp for Feebas here. I still have my SSN Magikarp, so maybe this guy is happier with it than I am. And I have a new Pokemon in my dex. Coming from this side, we can take the shortcut back to Route 111 over Route 112. But before doing so, let's stay here to get Swablu, Lunatone, and Solrock to our dex total. Also, there's the Steel Valley here, a small cave where Ash Torkoal joins up. Ultimately, before we start evolving our Pokemon, our last stop will be the Safari Zone in Kanto again. Because now we have the good rod, we can fish for yet another Pokemon in the Johto area, Mantine. Well, that were quite a lot of new Pokemon we got here, but we hit a dead end again. So, let's get the party started. That Mantine I just caught, I immediately bred with it holding the incense to get Mantike. I evolved Wailmer into Wailord at level 40, which isn't fun with scaled leveling, but yeah. Barboach into Whiscash, Togepi into Togetic with enough happiness, and Togetic into Togekiss with that one shiny stone we picked up way back in Johto. Skitty evolved into Delcatty after being rubbed with a moonstone in its face. Electrike evolved into Manectric, Galpin into Swalot, Swablu, which German name is just Wablu without the S for some reason, into Altaria, Numel into Camerupt, and Feebas into Melodic, with the evolution scale from the Slateboard market. Trapinch evolved into Vibrava and into a Flygon at level 45. And finally, after a very long time of daycare and Ho-Oh grinding, Beldum evolved into Metang and into Metagross, and Bagon into Shelgon and into Salamence. That took forever. Well, I returned back to Hoenn and entered the Morville gym. Defeating Watson was no problem whatsoever, as you could have guessed, and we got ourselves a Dynamo badge. I tried to skip Flannery's gym, but Norman wasn't still there, so I made my way back to Laveridge, and got the Heat badge as well. The way west of Morville is open now, and we can head to Verdanturf over Route 170. But unfortunately there is nothing here. No Pokemon, and nothing else of interest. So, to advance with the story now, it is time to face Norman. Returning back to Petalburg, I crushed May and her dad, getting yet another badge for the collection. With now Watson, Flannery and Norman defeated, the way east of Morville is now finally open. So let's explore Route 118. I took a quick stop here after defeating the trainers and got myself a Spoink. Before we arrive in Fortree City, we still have to cross the large Route 119. Before advancing too much though, I got myself a new Pokemon here, Shuppet. The Weather Institute is also located here and, like in the games, it is infested with an evil team. Before taking care of that though, we find ourselves another Master Ball laying around. Remember that one episode with the guy trying to catch a Whiscash with the Master Ball?
Master Ball, go!
Whiscash!
Come on, why'd you do that?
Whiscash!
That was so bullshit. Well, time to clear out the Weather Institute. As a thanks of freeing them, we get yet another cast form. I really start to hate those things. Fortree is now open to us, and after a quick stop at the Pokemon Center, there's a guy claiming to sell us a Chimecho. Unfortunately, we get scammed, and that Chimecho turns out to be a Hoppip. There's a short meetup with Brock again, and after defeating him, we can take to Winona. She says that she will return to the gym and wait for us there. But you know what? Winona can wait a little bit longer, since Route 120 is completely open to us. Here on Route 120, there's Slakoth and Chimecho, a real one this time, for us to catch here. Over on Route 121, we can use the rod again to add 2 Clamperl and Love-Disc to our dex total. Before arriving in Lily Cove, we take a quick detour to get ourselves a Soldew, which is laying around there for some reason. Lily Cove is another special place in Hoenn, since in its department store we can get the last evolution items missing, like the Dawnstone and the Duskstone from the bug catching contest we couldn't get earlier. Buying and using them, we managed to evolve our male Curlia into Galate, finally Murkrow into Honchkrow, Miss Drevis into Miss Magius, and having the Clamperls holding the Deep Sea Scale and Tooth, we get the evolutions Huntail and Gorobus. I still think that it looks creepy. Our Slakoth we got earlier evolved into Vigoroth and into Slacking at level 36, Shuppet evolved into Banette, and Spoink into Grumpig. Ultimately, because we caught a Chimecho earlier, we also have access to its pre-evolution, and so I bred my Chimecho, with it holding the right incense, to get Qingling. Before now heading to Moss Deep for our next gym, we take yet another quick detour, to deal with Team Magma and Team Aqua once and for all. With the help of Lance we managed to defeat them. With them out of the way, the legendaries are available, and so I caught Groudon and Kyogre, which wasn't too much of a problem with the level balls. Our way to Moss Deep is now opened, and with all Pokemon evolved and caught, let's take on the gym. With Tate and Liza out of the way, our next goal is Sootopolis. But the teleport guy kinda overshot the target, and we land on Izabi Island. Well, we still have to get to Sootopolis somehow, so we make our way to the other side of the island, where a boat could take us to our destination. To get there we have to cross the forest and the desert. In the desert we take a quick stop, because an NPC is giving us the 2 local fossils, the Claw and the Root fossil. I also got a Claydol here and its pre-evolution, Baltoy. Out of the desert directly into the ice cave, we ran into Team Rocket yet another time, who seem to be a bit lost as well. Once they are dealt with, I took an iconic Snorunt with me, and made sure to get another one of the opposite gender. I made my way through the cave, and got myself yet another Pokemon here, Absol. Outside of the ice cave, we finally arrive on the other side of the island, and from there we can take the ship to Sootopolis. But not so fast. Before taking on the gym here, we have something else to do. You know the drill. All the way back in Kanto, at the Cinnabar Islands lab, I revived my fossils to get Lilip and Anorith. After some training on Route 1, I got my 2 fossils into their final evolution, and both of my Snorrents into Glalie and Frostless, respectively. Now, with that out of the way, the Sootopolis gym is open to us, and we defeat Juan, earning the Rain Badge. In the Pokemon Center, Nurse Joy tells us that May is waiting for us in Pacifilock Town. But before going there, a new legendary appeared. Back in Fallabur Town, Jirachi is now available to catch, and we gladly add it to the team. In Pacifilock Town, we meet up with May again, before going to the Evergrande Conference to take on the Hoenn League. As you may already know from the Indigo and Silver League Conference, it's the same business as usual. Register, first stage, second stage, third stage, and some bullshit anime shenanigans, and losing. After at least placing top 8, we exit the league building, only to get greeted by Professor Oak's aide. He tells us that Oak wants to see us back in Pallet-town. We do exactly that and go back to Pallet-town. Oak tells us that the Battle Frontier opened in Kanto. Perfect timing. Let's take on that. Before starting the Battle Frontier series, let's go back to Hoenn for a last time, to get 2 more legendaries. Outside on Lilycove City, on Route 121, there's Latias and Latios to catch for us here. Back in Viridian City, we meet up with Scott, who managed to build the destroyed gym again. He wants us to defeat Agatha of the Elite Four, and we gladly do. After doing so, we are gifted with the Frontier Pass. The Battle Frontier journey can begin. We start by going to Cerulean City. There, after beating up Misty for a second time, on Route 4 there's a new area, which wasn't accessible before. The Battle Factory. Those Frontier challenges are basically like your gym battles, so for the sake of the Professor Oak challenge, I handled them the same as gym badges. Although I won't count them for the badge total though, since you don't get badges. With that out of the way, I faced Noland in the Battle Factory. And after a short burp fight, I got my first symbol, the Knowledge symbol. Our next goal is Saffron City. In there the dojo next to the gym is now open. And for the sake of completion, we do that as well. In the south part of Saffron there is yet another new area, the Battle Arena. We take on Greta and get our next symbol, the Gut symbol. Lavender Town is next, and now the south exit onto Route 12 is now open to us finally. No new Pokemon to get here, but we ran into Team Rocket again in the Pokemon Breeding Center, trying to steal some Pokemon eggs. We send them towards space again and continue onto Route 13, where the next battle facility is located. Before heading inside though, we go a little bit more south onto Route 14, since there's a new legendary awaiting us here. It is also our last Johto Pokemon missing, Celebi. After getting it with my first Quick Ball, I enter the Battle Dome and fight Tucker and his Arcanine. Defeating him will get us the Tactic symbol. The next facility is located in a new area in the Safari Zone. Fuchsia is around the corner, so it didn't take long to arrive there. Inside of this new Safari Zone area, I stopped to catch Tropius, a Nosepass, and by fishing a Spheal. After defeating Brock, the Battle Pike is open for us, but since I handle those more or less like the gyms, I need to evolve the Pokemon I got now. Doing so, I evolved Nosepass in Hoenn on Route 110 since it has a special magnetic field to get a Probo Pass. Spheal into Sealeo and to Walrein. With that out of the way, I entered the Battle Pike and faced Pike Queen Lucy, earning myself the Luck symbol. Battle Palace is our next destination. To get there, we go to Cinnabar Island and take the boat to Metallica Island. Here I can get a Meditite, and because of its high level, with a rare candy, I immediately evolved it into Medicham. No more Pokemon to get here, so I immediately fought Spencer, earning the Spirit symbol. The penultimate facility is west of Viridian City, south of the Indigo Lake. Going there, now we have access to Route 26. No new Pokemon to get here as well, so let's head straight into the Battle Tower. Business as usual, and with Annabelle defeated, we get the ability symbol. Before now taking on the last facility, a new legendary appears, right here on Route 26, where we are. The legendary this time is Deoxys. It took a bit of time, but with Deoxys added, I made my way to Pewter City, and onto the new exit in the west. The Battle Pyramid is located here, and after a short battle with Brock, I meet the head of the pyramid. Pyramid Head? Brandon, just outside. We have to defeat him and his Regis 3 times, this time crushing his Regirock. Inside of the pyramid for a second battle, we melt down his Registeel. Before taking on him a third time though, when exiting the building, a sneaky Aipom steals our battle pass unfortunately, and we have to track it down. It seems to have run off to the Indigo Plateau, and so we make our way there. Unfortunately, we can't find Aipom yet, but after talking with May, she tells us that it's somewhere near the entrance. We get our Frontier Pass back, and Aipom joins up our team. Brandon is now ready for the third battle. We are as well, and after defeating him, we get the last symbol, the Brave symbol. We also successfully become the Battle Frontier champ, and enter the Hall of Fame for yet another time. Now that we have completed the Frontier Challenge, let's head home to Pallet Town. Before doing so, 3 Pokeballs appear in the Battle Pyramid, it containing the 3 Regis. Of course, we take them with us and make our way back to Pallet Town. May stops us for a last time, telling us that she will now head for the Johto region. In Pallet Town, we ran into Gary, who's trying to flex with his Sinnoh Pokemon. After defeating him, we speak with Oak. He tells us that we should go for the Sinnoh region next, and try for the league there. We change our clothes for yet another time and head straight to Vermilion, taking the boat to Sinnoh. With now 407 Pokemon registered and after about 72 in-game hours, we arrive in Sinnoh. We start our journey on Route 202, north of Sandgem Town. Here we encounter our first Pokemon in the region, Ash Starly from the anime. In the high grass there are wild Bidoof, Badoo, Staravia, Buniri and Johto here, which we all take with us to fill the pokedex. When fishing here we also get Bidoof's evolution, Bibarel. One less Pokemon to evolve. Great! Heading to Sandgem was my next goal, and to see what the boundaries are. We run into Dawn and her Piplup, but she won't let us pass for now. In Professor Roan's lab, we have a little encounter with a guy named Paul, one of our rivals in this region. Taking care of his level 4 Starly, in this pretty unbalanced burp fight, he rushes out of the lab and we speak to the professor. He offers us to take Piplup with us, which he calls nothing special. That's pretty rude, but hey, it's a free Piplup. Dawn now let us pass after a quick battle. But before we continue north, let's head to the original starting town of the Sinnoh region, Twinleaf Town. Nothing special here, but we can collect our first plate. Those are scattered around the region, and as in the mainline games, used by Arceus to change types. Returning back to Sandgem and heading to Jubilife City, we run into an iconic Turtwig, our next starter Pokemon in the region. Welcome to the team. In Jubilife City I battled Brock and tried out what my options are from now on. The gate west is blocked for now, but the north and east exits are both free to pass. And so I headed north, first into Route 204. I caught a Pachirisu, Kricketot and a holy shanks here, before hitting the dead end. East of Jubilife we are now on Route 203, where Paul intercepts us for a battle. And after putting him in his place, we are free to continue to Oreburgh Gate. On the way I picked up another plate and exited to Oreburgh City. Not much here to do for us, so my next goal was to speak with Rogue in the mines to get him back to the gym. The same as in the mainline games. I found him, he gifted me a skull fossil and returned back to his gym. Before now getting rid of our evolutions, before taking on him, there's more that we can do. A tiny bit of Route 207 in the north is open to us, and in the high grass area I caught a Hippopotas. In Cinnabar Island I revived the fossil, getting a Cranidos. And now the fun part begins again. Grinding Ho-Ohs on Route 1 for EXP. I may sound like a broken record a bit, but that's unfortunately how it is. As they still give the best EXP by now so far. I should have definitely kept track on how many Ho-Ohs I fought. Anyways, while being here I evolved Hippopotas into Hippowdon, Kricketot into Kricketune, Buniri into Lopunny, Turtwig into Groudle and into Torterra, Granidos into Rampardos, Piplup into Prinplup and into Empoleon, Staravia into Staraptor, Shinx into Luxio and into its final evolution, Luxray, Badoo into Rosalia and Rosalia into Roserade with a shiny stone. Whew, what a mouthful. Alright, with all of those Pokemon evolved, we can get the first badge of the region, the Coal Badge. With the first badge obtained and 434 Pokemon in the dex, we go back to Jubilife and then north again onto Route 204, with the roadblock gone. After crossing the ravaged path, we find ourselves on Route 204 again, just outside of Floroma Town. We can't continue our journey here for now, so I grabbed another plate and entered the contest hall building. Dawn just won the challenge and after a quick battle with her, our journey can continue. On Route 205 I got myself a female Combi and entered Eterna Forest, just to get ambushed by Team Rocket. After sending them to the stars, I stayed here and caught 2 Burmese, one of both genders, and a Vespiquen. While crossing the forest, I picked up another plate and talked with Gardenia, which returns to the gym to wait for us. Outside of the forest, we are now on Route 205. We cross that route and find ourselves in Eterna City. Immediately I tested out if I can skip Gardenia's gym, and well, she can wait a tiny bit longer for me now. In case you are wondering, at the time of my recording it was the game version 2.22. With the new version it's no longer possible to skip gym leaders anymore. And while I personally like to skip the gyms now and then, I can also understand the reason behind changing it now. So, yeah. At this point, a big thanks to all developers and all the wonderful people in the Fire Ash Discord server, once again. The game is still worked on until this day, and they all keep it alive. You should definitely check it out on your own if you haven't done it yet. Anyways, back to the challenge. With Gardenia's gym being skippable to me, I decided to go directly to Route 206. I grabbed another plate and entered Route 207 again, this time from the other side, with the route to Oreburg still blocked. Cynthia greeted me, and after that I went straight for Mount Coronet. Thankfully an NPC takes us directly to Hardhome, so we do exactly that. In the city itself I grab another plate and checked out how far I can reach before the next roadblock, which wasn't that far at all. I did as the NPC told me and went for the battle hall. We register for attack battle and of course are put together with Paul as a team member. After a battle, Paul tosses his Chimchar, because it is apparently too weak for him. So we gladly take that poor Pokemon with us. What a douche. Unfortunately the attack battles aren't over yet, so we have to battle along his side for another time. As a prize we get Sooth Bells, which Paul definitely has no use for. Now that we have beaten the battle hall, Route 209 in the west is open for exploration. I got myself a Zangoose and a Spiritomb here, and met Dawn. She would like to trade an Aipom for her Buizel. Since we have a spare Aipom left, we can of course accept this trade. Solaceon Town is in the north, and they seem to have a little bit of trouble in the ruins. And so we do what we always do the dirty police work. I mean, seriously, where's Officer Jenny? Inside of the ruins, who could have thought, we have another encounter with Team Rocket, which is looking for some treasure. We don't bother too much with them, and after they are sent blasting off again, we can leave Solaceon Town again. On Route 210, I did add Drifloon and Glaceon to the dex total, before I made my way west to Route 215. Here we find another plate and an iconic Gligar, alongside Glameow and Cherubi, which I gladly add to the team. Just before we reach the next city, we get intercepted by another pair of Team Rocket members. This time it's Biff and Cassidy, which, let's be honest, never stood a chance against Ho-Oh in the first place. We arrive in Veilstone, and as many of you remember from the original Sinnoh games, there's a game corner here. Time for some shopping, I would say. This way I added Snover, Gibble, Carnivine, and the most expensive Rotom in existence. I laid aside the next gym for now and went south directly onto Route 214, where I got Stunky and went fishing in Encada and a Floatzel. South of my location and at the Lake Valor, I ran into Wallace, who recommended me to join the Wallace Cup at the Valor lakefront. Going there, for a second I thought I could skip Veilstone's gym entirely, but unfortunately here all exits are blocked. And despite me meeting Wallace before, he isn't here until I beat Veilstone's gym. A pity. On my way back to Veilstone, I ran into a trainer with a shiny Dustox, which was really cool to see. But other than that, it's time for Route 1 again. Nincada evolved into Ninjask, and having a free spot on my team, into Shedinja. My female Burmy evolved into Wormadam, and my male into Mothim. Cherubi evolved into Cherrim, Drifloon into Driflim, Snover into Abomasnow, Stunky into Skunktank, Paul's Chimchar into Monferno and into Infernape, Glameow into Perugly, and Gibble into Gabite and into Garchomp, which as you can imagine took forever, as with all pseudo-legendaries. Okay, with now 31 additional Pokemon and a total of 465 Pokemon in our dex total, it is finally time to take on Veilstone's gym. After defeating Maylene, we get the Cobble badge, but we don't have a lot of time to celebrate our victory. The whole city is overrun by Team Galactic runs, and we have to take care of that. We challenge one of their admins, Saturn, and restore the peace in the city for now. After doing so, I made my way back to the Valor Lakefront. This time we are allowed to enter the contest building, where we meet up with our old friend May again. After a quick battle, the way south finally opens to us. We run into Paul again, and after putting him down to his place, we find ourselves on Route 213. In the patch of grass, luckily there's some new Pokemon, like Drapion, Krogunk and Shellos, which we add up before entering the next city. We arrive in Pastoria City, and can't enter the gym yet until we spoke with Brock. Before doing so, let's explore what we can do before getting into the gym. Route 212 is accessible, and while fishing here, I found a Gastrodon here. The rest of the route is a bit of a maze, and making my way through it, I eventually run into the original rival Gary. For the sake of old times, we battled, and I arrived at the Pokemon Mansion. There is unfortunately nothing for us to do here, and going further north, we would just end up in Hearthome. So I made my way back to Pastoria and evolved what I had. After beating Brock in the city, I bred my Drapion we caught earlier to get a Skorupi, and evolved Krogunk into Toxicroak. That is all we can do in this section, so let's take on the Pastoria gym. Defeating Crusher Wake results in us getting the third Sinnoh badge, the Fan badge. And with it, we can continue our story through Cozy Sinnoh. Back in Hearthome, we meet up with Dawn in the front of the gym. She tells us that the gym leader was heading to Celestic Town. So that's where we should head to. After a quick battle, Dawn gifts us the secret potion, which we need to get access to Celestian Town. But before we go there, actually it's detour time again. All the way back in Kanto, the Safari Zone got upgraded once more. So we checked that out first. In the zone itself, I found a couple of items and when fishing, Finneon and its evolution, Luminion. Back to Sinnoh on Route 210, north of Thalassian Town, there is a bunch of wild Psyducks, which blocks the way and won't move because of their headaches. We use the secret potion on them, and now our way to Celestic Town is open. Just before we enter the town, we run into Fantina, the Hearthome gym leader, and convince her to return back to her gym. Since we are here anyways, we can check out the nearby town of course. Only to find out that Team Rocket is causing trouble again in the ruins. After dealing with them, Cynthia approaches us again and thanks us, but the town has been overrun by Galactic team members, and we have to team up to stop them. In the science building of the town, we find Saturn and Mars, which luckily never stood a chance against the power of Cynthia and Ash combined. Unfortunately, they still get the Lustrous Orb and leave before we can do anything. We can't bother with that for now, so we continue our journey to the region and head back to Hearthome. We run into Paul again as we leave the town, and unfortunately he doesn't seem to have learned a thing about treating the Pokemon right. Anyways, back in Hearthome, before we can take on Fantina, we run into Barry, and afterwards we take on the gym leader. For the next part, one of my trusty viewers, Stitch, will take over. Thanks Stitch, I can finally get myself a coffee now.
Fantina tells us to meet up with Brian in Canalave for the next gym. I use the teleporter system to get to Jubilife and take the west exit onto Route 218. There's a ferry to Canalave. Before we take on Brian, we get Darkrai and Cresselia. Both of them are in the south corner of the city. No more Pokemon to catch, but there's a spooky plate in the old chateau in Canalave. Beating Brian results in us getting the Mine Badge. He also gifts us the Armor Fossil, which we revive into Shieldon. Before we continue for the next badge, the ferry can take us to the new location, Iron Island. Here we get an iron plate and a Master Ball just laying on the ground. A trainer with his Lucario blocks the cave entrance. His name is Riley. After we defeat him, he tells us that the aura is disturbed and that we should investigate. Team Galactic is behind it, and after defeating a few grunts, we take on the admin, Mars. Mars tells us they are trying to find Spear Pillar. We get out of the cave, and Riley gets us an egg, which eventually hatches into Riolu. Next, we go back to Eterna City. To the east, we can now enter 216. Here, we get Bronzor. On to 217, after interacting with an item, a Hoenn joins up. North at Lake Acuity, there's nothing for us yet, so we enter Snowpoint City. This is our next dead end. We can talk to our rival Paul and Brandon in front of the Snowpoint Temple, but we are not allowed to enter yet, so Regigigas is not available right now. Before we take on Snowpoint Gem, we need to evolve our Pokemon. Bronzor into Bronzong after one rare candy, Shieldon into Bastiodon at level 40, Riolu into Lucario with enough happiness during the daylight. After that, we take on the gym leader Candace to get the Icicle badge with 482 Pokemon registered.
We get the Icicle badge from Candace, and when leaving Snowpoint City, Luca will speak to us about Team Galactic. Their plans seem to come together, and we have to find a way to stop them. But for now, Sunny Shore is our next goal. Passing by Lake Acuity, we run into Paul once more, and after defeating him, he tells us that he's on his way for Sunny Shore as well. All the way back at the Valor Lakefront, the east exit is now open, and so we make our way onto Route 222. Here's another trainer with a shiny Ditto this time. Besides that, we found another one of Ash's iconic Pokemon, Gible. And before reaching Sunny Shore, we pass out. Brock, Dawn and I wake up in the cave and realize that Team Galactic is about to finalize their plans. So we have to stop them once and for all. Dawn and Brock take down the grunts, while I need to take on the admins. After stopping Team Galactic, we are now free to capture the Sinnoh box art legendaries, Dialga and Palkia, which shouldn't be too painful if you bring enough heavy balls and patience. After saving the world, we find ourselves on Route 222 again. I decided to explore north and ran into a mansion, where there's Team Rocket again, and I sent them blasting off. Hold on a second, I remember that from the anime. Did I just kick James out of his own mansion? Oopsie. Anyways, back to Route 222, we find ourselves the last Hoenn Pokemon missing, Rayquaza, waiting for us to battle it. We of course do, and add it as Pokemon number 485 to our dex total. Also, the Hoenn dex is complete now. After another battle with Barry, we can finally enter the last city of Sinnoh, Sunny Shore. There's also a market here which sells all evolution stones, something which will come in handy for sure. The gym leader, Faulkner, isn't in his gym, and we find him at the Sunny Shore Tower, together with Flint from the Elite Four. After battling Flint, Faulkner seemed to find his motivation to be a gym leader again, and is now ready for us to fight him. We battle him, but unfortunately we have to stop because there's trouble at the Sunny Shore Tower again. We find out that it's Team Rocket, and of course, after a short intermission, our battle with Faulkner can continue, resulting in us getting the beacon badge. It is almost time for us to take on the Sinnoh League, but before we approach the ship, there's Dawn, which wants to battle us again. Before we actually take the ship to the League, there's some more things for us to do. At the Sunny Shore Tower there's an NPC which offers us to take us to the Sinnoh Lakes, this time to get the Lake Guardians. We do that and go to Lake Valor to capture Azelf, Lake Verity to get Mispirit, and Lake Acuity to get Uxie. But wait, there's more. Outside of Sunny Shore on Route 222, two more legendaries appear on the beach side, them being Heatran and Shaman. All the way back in Hearthome, the friendly NPC who took us over the mountains now offers us to teleport us to the top of Mount Coronet, where we actually find Giratina, which makes a great addition to our Pokedex. Regigigas unfortunately is still not available to us, so I made my way back to Sunny Shore and took the boat to the Lily of the Valley, where the Sinnoh League is located. We enter the building and after a quick chat with Barry, register for the battles. We have our first, second and third battle, before we encounter Paul as our fourth match. Our last battle will be Tobias, with his team consisting of Darkrai and Latios. And even though we beat him in this timeline, we still only managed to place in the top 4. That was a fun trip, but for now let's head home to Pallet Town. We get greeted by the excited townsfolk of Pallet Town, and after speaking to them, I made my way to Oak. He tells us about a new region, Unova, a place far away, where we can take on the league. Also, we get a pair of new clothes again. To get to Unova, we should take the blimp in Viridian City. But before we do that, there's still some Pokemon we can get. Returning back to Sinnoh for our last time, we can find Manaphy at Lake Verity, which we can add to the dex total. And at Lake Valor, the Pokemon god itself, Arceus. Arceus, well, more or less voluntarily joins up. It didn't have no other choice anyways. And after we do a final trip to Snowpoint City, Brandon gives us Regigigas. And with now 494 Pokemon in our Pokedex registered, we can finally take the blimp in Viridian City to get to Unova. And so, after a short time, we arrive in Nuvema Town, after around 86 in-game hours from the start. The journey continues, and we took our first step into Unova. Starting from Nuvema Town, I spoke with the townspeople, and one of them gifted me an EXP share. What a nice welcome gift! I was just about to enter the local Pokemon lab when I suddenly saw a Pokemon in the corner. Well, we just encountered our first Unova Pokemon, and it's the legend Zekrom. After that, we have a little chat with Oak and Juniper, before we head to Route 1. Before we do so, we meet Trip, one of our rivals this time around. We deal with him and step onto Route 1. There's an iconic Pidove, which wants to join our team. We take Pidove with us, and while staying here, get a pet rat, Sandile, not Zubat, and a Deerling. Doing so, we also run into an Oshawott. It seems that the Pokemon is belonging to Professor Juniper, and after a little chat with her, we are free to take Oshawott with us. Before we ultimately leave the area, there's one last fight against Iris, and after that we enter Accumula Town. While exploring, I ran into Team Rocket, and after dealing with them, we get our second Unova starter, Tepig. Onto Route 2, we go for the next city. No new Pokemon here, so we go straight for Striatlon City. Within the city area, while fishing in the pond, I added Basculin, Swanna, and Alola Mola to my decks. After that, I went for the Dream Yard in the east and caught a Muna and a Mushana. I ignored the gym for now, since there was no roadblock, so I made my way directly onto Route 3. We find a Snivy here, but when interacting with it, it runs off. Before we go after it, I looked into the high grass area for some new Pokemon. Those include Dwebble, Minccino, Darumaka, Dimantian, Yamask, Scolipede, and Trubbish. When entering the cave, I also caught Roggenrola, before I tried to track down Snivy. Heading south, we run into Bianca, and after dealing with her, we can finally add the last Unova starter to our team. On our way to the next city, we kick Trip's butt and find the Pokemon daycare. The daycare lady gives us a Pokemon egg, which shortly after hatches into a Scraggy. I entered McGreen City, and with seemingly no roadblock, before even thinking of the local gym, I exited west into the Pinwheel Forest area. New area, new Pokemon, and so I added Cottony, Petilil, Sewaddle, Garvantula, and Venipede to the dex total. Sadly, this is where we run into our first roadblock, and until we get the first 2 gym badges, we cannot advance further. So it's time for the old game of grinding on Kanto Route 1 for EXP, to evolve the Pokemon we got in the section. After way too many Ho-Ohs, I managed to evolve Pidove into Tranquil, and into Unpheasant at level 32, Patrat into Watchog, Sewaddle into Swadloon, and into Levani after enough friendship, Sandile into Krokorok and into Crocodile, Deerling into Saucebuck, Snivy into Servine and into Serperior, Petilil into Lilligant after a Sunstone, Cottony into Whimsicott, Minccino into Cinccino, and since we didn't get a middle stage evolution, my Venipede into a Whirlipede, Rock'n'Roller into Boldore, and because the fan game let trait evolutions evolve at level 35, Boldore into Gigalith, Dwebble into Crustle, Scraggy into Scrafty, Not Zubat into Not Golbat, Yamask into Corphagrigus, Tepig into Pignite and into Emboar, Oshawott into Duot and into Samurott, and Trubbish into Garbodor. Before we can now take the first gym, we also need to breed Swanna to get a Ducklet, and Galvantula to get a Joltik. Wow, that's 55 Pokemon, before we even took the first gym of the region already. We now have the choice between the Striaton and the Decreen gym. Because Striaton wouldn't give us anything basically, we take on Lenora's gym. Defeating her the first time won't get us a badge yet. But before we take on her a second time, we speak with her husband, and he gives us the 2 local fossil Pokemon, which of course we have to revive and evolve. Doing so, I got myself a Tirtouga and an Archon. And after another 2 annoying training sessions, I managed to get Caracosta and Archeops. Now, with 59 Pokemon in the region and 553 Pokemon in total, we can now take on Lenora a second time and earn the first Unova badge, the basic badge. Unfortunately, the roadblock into Pinwheel Forest is still in place, so we need to take on the second gym, well, technically the first, to get access. And so, without getting any new Pokemon in between, I traveled back to Striaton City and battled all the 3 gym leaders, earning the Trio badge. With the first 2 badges, we can now finally enter Pinwheel Forest, and while being in the area, we run into an iconic Sewaddle. Welcome! I made my way through the forest and caught a Gothitelle, before I ran into Burke, the next gym leader. Speaking with him will make him return to his gym, and I continue my way through the forest. Staying in the area for some fishing, I caught Timepole, before exiting the forest and entering Sky Arrow Bridge. While crossing the bridge, Sillon wants a quick battle, and after doing so we find ourselves in Unova's biggest city, Castelia. This city seems to have a small problem with Venipedes. And who's behind it? Of course, Team Rocket. Dealing with them will fortunately solve the problem, and we are free to roam the city. I stopped at the local Pokeball factory, and after defeating all employees, I was gifted another Master Ball for my collection. Before even thinking of entering the gym, I exited the city north and entered Route 4, an area with a lot of new Pokemon. Here I got myself an Elgyem, Lampent, Blitzel, Fungus, and a Litwick. While exploring the area, I found an iconic Palpitoad, who wanted to join the team. And after taking it with us, I fished for a while and caught Frillish, Stunfisk, and Baratic. 2 more iconic Pokemon are on this route, them being Rock'n'Roller and the Mantian. Another roadblock is preventing us from entering the next city, so we have to join the club battle. Luckily, the area is just around the corner, and funny enough, there's even more new Pokemon to catch here. While being in that area, I caught Audino, Mandibuzz, Cupchew, Simisear, Emolga, and Lavesta. I participated in the club challenge, which is basically just beating a couple of trainers, who could have thought, and entered Nimbasa City. In the city itself there's the game corner, and you know the drill by now. This means even more new Pokemon. I bought a Dino, Zorua, and Tynamo here. After doing so, I explored the boundaries of this new section again, and found myself on Route 5. After meeting up with the champion of the region, Alder, we now find the next roadblock. Until we have beaten the gym of Nimbasa or passed the battle subway, we cannot advance further. Before we return back to Nimbasa though, we stay in the area to capture Pansage, Axew, Panpour, Lillipup, Noctoros, Pansear, and Gothita. Back in Nimbasa City, I tried to go to the battle subway, since that is what the god said, and well, we need to beat the gym anyways. So before doing that, as in the spirit of this challenge, now we have to evolve and breed all the Pokemon we got in the section. And let me tell you, Unova has some ridiculous evolution levels. At first, with the evolution stones, I evolved Panpour into Simipour and Pansage into Simisage, before returning all the way back to Sunyshore City in Sinnoh to buy a Duskstone. With that, I can evolve my Lampent into a Chandelure. Blitzel evolved into Zebstrika after a tiny bit of Route 1 grinding. Zorora into Zoroark, Lillipup into Herdier and into Stoutland at level 32. Gothita into Gothorita, we already have her final evolution. Lavesta into Volcarona at level 59, remember, scaled leveling and no Elite Four rematches. Dino into Swallows and into Hydreigon at level 64, which took me about 6 hours alone of Ho-Oh grinding and rare candy feeding. Axew into Fraxure and into Hexorus at level 48. Fungus into Amoonguss, my Palpitoad into Seismitoad, Tynamo into Electric at level 39 and into Electros after a Thunderstorm, Frillish into Jellicent, and Algium into Behemoth at level 42. Finally we breed Mandibuzz to get a Vullaby, which we luckily don't have to evolve. Level 54. To say that this section took forever is an understatement, but with now 600 Pokemon registered, we can finally take on the Nimbasa gym. Defeating Elisa results in us getting the Bolt badge, and since we are in the city anyways, we also do the Battle Subway, which means fighting Emmet and Ingo. Before we now continue our way into Driftvale, it is time for our annual Safari Zone detour. Back in Kanto, the Unova section of the Safari Zone opened, and so I went there and got myself a Durant, Ferrothorn, Heatmore, and when fishing a Cryogonal, which for some reason creeps me out every time I see one. Breeding Ferrothorn results in us getting a Ferroseed, and since the Driftvale Bridge City Guard won't let us pass, we have to beat the Castelia gym first. Easy as that, and after defeating Berg, we are awarded the Insect Badge. For the next part, my girlfriend EvilCarrotSauce will take over, so I can do a short bathroom break. Thanks a lot!
Now the way to Driftville City is finally open for us, and so we ignore it completely and go directly onto Route 6. We can't enter Chargestone Cave yet until we beat the gym, but staying here we caught Carablast, Shelmet, and their evolutions, Excavalier and Excelgor, along with the Sigalef, another Pokemon which we find creepy as fuck. Are we the only ones? Anyway, there's no Pokemon to evolve here, and so we wanted to take on the Driftvale gym. Unfortunately, there seems to be a bit of a problem, which we have to resolve first. We take the boat to Milos Island, where the forces of weather seem to be disturbed. Apart from a couple of trainers, we find the weathered trio here, and after capturing Tornadus, Thundurus, and Landorus, which I personally think are the lamest weather trio in the world, the weather calms down again, and we're free to take on the next gym. Before we do so, we run into Chili for a short battle, and we're now free to face the Driftvale's City Gym leader, Clay. Defeating him was no problem at all, and in doing so results in us getting the Quake Badge. The way to Chargestone Cave is now free, but before entering, there's an iconic... What? RJ emphasized iconic in the script. Croconaut, which will want to accompany us. After we take Crocorock, we are now free to enter Chargestone Cave. We make our way through the maze and catch Clink Clang and Cling Clang here, together with Dredagon. Before we exit the cave, we run into Iris again, and one battle later, exit the cave and enter Mistral City. There's a small crowd in front of the local gym, and since we're a bit antisocial, speaking for myself here, we instead leave the city and its gym behind and make our way to Route 7. We caught a Purloin here and entered Mistral Town Tower. I got Solosis and Golett here, along with a disappointment when reaching the top. So, back on Route 7, I ran into a roadblock, which prevented me from entering Twist Mountain. This time it's the Clubsplosion, which we have to participate, but that's okay, since we can now enter a new little area with some more Pokemon. I got Sork, Mianfu, Mianshao, Timber, Girder, and Throw here, before doing the Clubsplosion contest. After doing that, the way to Twist Mountain is free,
and so we make our way through the maze to get to the next city. While being here, I captured Drillbur and its evolution Excadrill, and a Conkeldurr. Team Rocket is also here, of course, and after sending them through the roof, shortly after we find ourselves in Isira City. The first thing I did was to check out the Pokemon fan club here, and the president gifted me yet another EXP share. Thanks a lot actually. Right behind the club building is a small cave, and there we find and capture the legendary Pokemon Kyurem. On the search for the next roadblock, I made my way through Route 8, and while there's no new Pokemon, there's a guy with a ship, which eventually takes us to the next city. If we have the Isira's badge. We can also go a tiny bit further east onto Route 9, but apart from Shopping Mall 9, we run into another roadblock. And so the way to Opelucid City is off limits for now. Luckily there's not many Pokemon which we have to take care in this section. And so we evolve Purloin into Liepard, Solosis into Duosion, and Reuniclus at level 41, and Golett into Golurk at level 43. Also, at that point, I am incredibly sorry if I butchered some Pokemon or city names and didn't spell it correctly in English, but yeah, Gen 5 was the time period where Pokemon lost me basically forever. For, well, at least a couple of years. So, I'm incredibly sorry. Anyways, after handling our evolutions, we took on the Isira's gym, and skipping Skylar's gym, earning ourselves the Freeze badge. The sailor on Route 8 now takes us to Burbank City. And arriving there, we take a Meloetta with us for now. No new Pokemon to get here, so we take on the local gym, and earn ourselves the Toxic badge from Roxy. Immediately after we leave the gym, we run into Cynthia. She tells us to meet her in Andella Town, which we can now reach from Nimbasa City. But before we actually go there, 3 new Pokemon appear in Unova. East of Driftvale on Route 6, there's a small cave, where we can now capture Cobalion. In Twist Mountain Terrakion, and in Pinwheel Forest, we will find Virizion. After getting all 3, we can now make our way back to Nimbasa City, and take the new exit east. And doing so, we are now on Route 16. No Pokemon to catch here, and after defeating a handful of trainers, Andella Town is just around the corner. We meet up with Cynthia, have a small reunification with Dawn, and, because we are here anyway, participate in the Pokemon World Tournament. Defeating a couple of strong trainers, Champion Alder gifts us a TM, but more importantly, Andella Bay now opens to us. But it seems that Team Rocket took over the bay, and we have to liberate it. A couple of grunts later, we run into Jesse and James, and after taking care of them, their boss Giovanni. He wants to use Meloetta to fulfill his plans, but we manage to stop him, and free the Pokemon from his grip. Before we leave Andella Town behind, Meloetta now wants to join us for real now. And of course, she can accompany us on our journeys. North of Andella there's Route 12. I captured a Rufflet here, and entered Opelucid City. There's no new gym for us here to beat, but we run into Iris again, and defeating her, the way to Ventress City, where the Unova League is located, is now open. Before we do that though, the Rufflet we just caught earlier we evolved into Braviary at level 54. Which is just way too high of a level to evolve. Anyways, we register for the Unova League. Have our first battle against Trip, our second battle, the third battle, the fourth battle, and our final battle against Cameron. You guessed it, as in the anime, that's where our journey in the Unova League ends, and we place top 8. The moment we exit the league, Sillin wants to battle us for a last time. And defeating him, he gifts us the final and best rod of the game, the Super Rod. We return to Nuvema Town and have a little chat with Professor Juniper. She tells us that there is a town close to Burbank City that we should check out, to help out the new gym leader there. West of Burbank there's Route 20, and Team Rocket. One blasting off later, we search in the high grass area and add Pawniard and a Maractus to our dex total. While exploring the route, we also run into N, and find a small grove where we can capture Keldeo. Route 19 is west, and immediately we can find and capture a Genesect here. We enter Aspertia City. There's a gym here, and even if we already beat the league, we handle this one as a regular gym. Luckily, there's only one Pokemon which we have to take care of, and so I evolved my Pawniard into Bisharp. We enter Aspertia City's gym and battle against Charon. Doing so don't grant us any badge, but the White Ruins now west of the city are now accessible. Entering the White Ruins revealed that Team Plasma took over. We have to fight a couple of grunts and face Colress, which has Reshiram under his control. We defeat Colress and Lookout takes him into custody. We can now take care of Reshiram and add it to our dex total. I still think that it would be the perfect Pokemon for a food truck concept.
RJ, the Reshiram food truck was my idea.
But that personal note aside, that's it for Unova. Almost. When leaving the ruins, Anne thanks us for stopping Team Plasma. After that, we run into Alexa, which tells us about a new region we should check out, Kalos. While making our way back to Kanto to speak with Oak about that, we do a quick pit stop on Route 4 and get ourselves the last Unova Pokemon we can get here, Victini. Back in Nuvema, we take the blimp here to Kanto and go to Pallet Town to have a little chat with Oak. He suggests that we go to Kalos and try the league there. Apart from that, we also get a pair of new clothes again. To get to Kalos, we need to take the blimp again to get to Lumio City. We do exactly that and take the blimp to this new and exciting place. Now having 647 Pokemon registered in our pokedex, and after 108 in-game hours. We start our journey directly in Kalos' capital, Lumio City. Since we are here already, let's explore the city in 2D for the first time. The first stop here is Professor Sycamore's lab. He greets us and tells us about his missing Froakie. We try to find his Pokemon, and while doing so we run into Clement, the local gym leader, and his sister. After a very short battle, we can find Froakie. And it immediately joins up our team as the first Pokemon in the region. For finding Froakie, Sycamore lets us keep it, and on top we get a Mega Ring. Yes, Mega Evolution is very possible in this game, and I love it. Besides that, we find our second starter of the region here, Fennekin. Now a new exit south of the city opens up, and so we enter Kalos Route 4. An iconic fledgling wants to join our journey across the country, and after taking it with us, we also capture Inkay, Bunnelby, and Dedenne here. South of Route 4 is Santaloon City, and the next gym. Before we enter it though, we run into our rival's arena. One short battle later, we already hit the end of the section here, so let's evolve what we have so far. Going back to Kanto's Route 1 and grinding Ho-Ohs again, I did evolve my Bunnelby into Diggersby, Fennekin into Braixen and into Delphox, Froakie into Frogadier and into Greninja, Inkay into Malamar, and Fletchling into Fletchinder and into Talonflame. With now 661 Pokemon, we can take on the first Kalos gym. Doing so, we earn ourselves the Bug Badge and make our way back to Lumio City to spread the good news. Back in Sycamore's lab, we find Chespin, our last starter Pokemon of the region, and after a short battle with Clement, the way to Route 5 is now open. We enter the route and Team Rocket, of course, makes their entrance again. We blast them to the stars and get ourselves some more Kalos Pokemon, like Esper, Pancham, and its evolution, Pangoro, Pumpkaboo, and Scatterbug. The next city on our way is Cambria Town. The west exit is blocked by a sleeping Snorlax, and because we never got the Pokeflute in Kanto, we now have to get one. North of the city is the town's palace, and by going to Route 6, we make our way to maybe get some help with the Snorlax problem. A little bit further along the route is the Perfume Palace area, and before we enter the castle, we grab another amulet coin. Inside of the palace, we battle the princess, and after that, we are granted the Pokeflute. Because we already have Munchlax and Snorlax, I defeat this one. Well, of course after taking its leftovers. I made my way onto Route 7, and there's Wild Swirlix and Spritzy here, which we gladly add to our growing collection. The route is pretty short, so soon after we enter Route 8. Here on the coastline while fishing, I did fish for Clauncher, Skrelp and Dragalge. A few steps further north is Silagi City. In the local lab here, the two scientists gave us the local fossil Pokemon, them being Amora and Tyrant. In the city we can also find the game corner of the region, so we can shop for some more Pokemon. Being here I got myself a Furfrou, Gumi, Hoenn and Carbink. No roadblock here, so we can directly enter Route 10. This puts us almost immediately into a fight with the local champion, Diantha here. And after beating her in a battle, she gives us the Gardevoir, and we use our time here to fish for a Binacle. Among the way to the next city, I ran into Corinna, and one battle later she returns to her gym. And so the path north is also free. I grabbed a Kangaskhanite on this route and made my way to Geosenge Town. An NPC here gives us the Gengarite, another NPC the Blazikenite and the Heracronite. Apart from that, when we exit the town we run into Serena again for another battle. We are now on Route 11. An iconic Hawlucha joins up our team, and we catch a wild Trevenant before entering Reflection Cave. While making our way through the cave, I caught a here and ran into one of the legendary Pokemon of the region, Xerneas. After catching it, I grabbed the Sableknight and exit to Chaleur City. There's a roadblock for this section here, so before we take on the next gym, we evolve Amura into Aurorus, and our last starter Chespin into Quilladin and into Chestnut, Binacle into Barbicle, Scatterbug into Spooper and into Vivillon, and Esper into Meowstic. Back in Hoenn at the Slateport Market, I bought the Sachet and the Whipped Cream, and evolved Swirlix into Slurpuff and Spritzy into Aromatisse, Tyrant into Tyrantrum, Honedge into Duoblade and with the right Evolution Stone into Aegislash, Pumpkaboo into Gourgeist, into Noivern, Gumi into Sliggoo and into Goodra, and Clauncher into Clawitzer. Finally I bred Trevenant to get a Phantump, and with now 701 Pokemon I made my way back to Chaleur City to take on its gym. Unfortunately Team Rocket is there as well, and after sending them to space I can now finally get my second Kalos badge. After battling Corinna and her Lucario, I earned myself the Rumble badge. Also the Lucario Knight. After our victory over Corinna, an NPC in the town also gifts us some more Megastones, including the Venusaurite, the Charizardite Y, and the Blastoise. Unfortunately though, the roadblock is still in its place, and since we skipped the Silage Gym, we go back there and face the gym leader Grant. Doing so, and we are awarded the Cliff Badge, and the roadblock in Chaleur City is finally gone. Soon after we make our way to Route 12 and take an iconic Gumi with us. Besides that we pick up the Altaria Knight and capture Flabébé, Skiddo, Gogoat and Vanillite. I saved my game and entered Coumarine City. In one of the houses I found a lucky egg, one can never get enough of those, and one NPC gifted us a Lopunite. We take the car to the top of the hill and get ourselves the next Megastone, the Swampert. Clement waits for us in front of the local gym, but as you know me, I tried out how far I can get, and so I entered Route 13 first. I got myself a Helioptile here and grabbed the Megastones, them being the Steelixite, Tyrannotite and Acronite. After doing that I went further south and found myself in Lumia City again. I spoke with one of the guards and softlocked my game. Well, it seems that I wasn't supposed to skip that gym and then be here. But no worries, I just reload my save and... Well, after doing all of that again, I entered Lumias again and stayed as far away from the guard as possible. In the first house I got a Galatite, at the Lysandre Cafe the Gyarados site, which is a nice reference, and left the city through the north gate. Now I am at Route 14. We run into Serena another time and are free to look around after a battle with her. There's no Pokemon to get here, so we make our way to Laver City. At the first house the NPC gives me a Medichamite, and the next roadblock in the city tells us that we should check out the Pokeball factory. We cannot enter the gym either yet, so let's do exactly that. Inside of the factory, Team Rocket caused some trouble again, of course, and after defeating them we get yet another Master Ball for the collection. This unfortunately don't clear the roadblock, so we should evolve all Pokemon we got in the section. Starting with my Helioptile, after a Sunstone, it evolved into a Heliolisk. Flababy evolved into Floette and into Florges. And finally, Ice Cream into more and more Ice Cream. And with that, the Unova Dex is also now finally complete. We return back to Kurmarine City and speak with Clement in front of the gym. After taking care of him, we can get the next gym badge, and defeating Ramos will get us the plant badge, making it the 4th Kalos badge. The roadblocks still don't disappear, and so we make our way to Lumia City and take on Clement again in his gym. This results in us getting the Voltage badge, and now in Laver City we are now finally able to enter the gym there, after a battle with Sawyer of course. The gym itself is a lot like Sabrina's gym in Kanto, and so, after like 20 minutes or so, I found my way to the actual gym leader. Am I the only one who hated that gym? With passion? I hope not. With Valerie defeated, I got myself the ferry badge, and now the east exit of the city is accessible. On Route 15 I caught a Klefki, and 2 NPCs gave me the Sharpedo Knight and Camera Riptide. The next city is Dandemill Town, and a fisherman here gives us the Slowbro Knight. Apart from that we leave the town immediately and find ourselves on Route 17. Nothing for us to do here, so we enter Frost Cavern. I got myself a Bergmite here and found the next legendary, Yveltal. After catching it, I picked up the Scissorite and left the cave. On the other half of this route we got the Glalie here and I arrive in Anistar after. While being here I got the Pinsirite, the Absolite and Ordinite from Nurse Joy. A lot of Megastones. The exit south is impassable for now, so we have to take on the gym leader here before. But before doing that we enter the Anistar Sundial, and there we find the Pidgeotite, Salamencite, Metagrossite and Houndoom Knight. After collecting all of that and speak to the gym leader, we evolve the Bergmite into Avalok and make our way to the local gym. Defeating the gym leader, we earn the Psychic badge, and the exit south is now open. On Route 18 we run into Clement once more. Someone took his sister from him, and we need to rescue her. This is where I run into the evil team of the region for the first time, Team Flare. We defeated the Grunts and rescued Bonnie. After doing that, I caught a Litleo here, and because it was so high leveled, I immediately evolved it into Pyro. We crossed Route 18 and now arrived in Kuriway Town. There we meet up with Sawyer again, and grab the Sceptilite from the NPC, before we aim for the next route. Elaine blocks the way, and after defeating him we can enter Route 19. Here we pick up the Aerodactylite and enter Terminus Cave. Team Flare overrun the cave, and after we kick their butts, and Team Rockets as well, because they are here and why not, we grab the Latias and Latias Knight and continue our journey. Outside of the cave, we run into Elaine again, and after the battle we get a Charizardite X. Soon after we arrive at Route 21, where we run into Diantha again for a battle. Snowbell City, the last city of the region, is not that far away, and so after a short while I arrived there. In the house north I found an Alicazide, and afterwards I made my way directly to the local gym. After defeating Sawyer, we can now enter the building and battle the gym leader Wulfric. I battled him, but instead of giving me the gym badge, he demands us to go look after the Pokemon village first, before we can battle again. Well, we have no other choice, and we do exactly that, and search south of the city on Route 20. Here we run into Serena again, and after our obligatory battle, Wulfric is now ready to face us again. Defeating him a second time results in us getting the last badge of the Kalos region, the Iceberg badge. We exit the city west and onto Route 22, connecting it with Lumia City again. Before we actually arrived there though, we stopped to pick up the Mewtwo Knight X and Y. Back in Lumia City, all we can do now is taking the Kalos Leech. We register and did our first battle, the second battle, third battle and the fourth battle, before we face Sawyer as our fifth match. Our final match will be Elaine, and after our match we find ourselves in a pretty bad situation, as Team Flare occupied the town. Their leader Lysandre announces to the city that he took over. We exit the league building and fight our way through the grunts, only to arrive at the Lumia's gym. At the top of the gym we have our final showdown with Lysandre. and as you can imagine, we crush him along with his evil plans. Team Flare is disbanded now, and the people of Kalos thank me for saving their region. We return back to Sycamore's lab, and he gives us the Garchomp Knight for our efforts. Back in Pallet Town, the people congratulate us for our efforts in the league once more, and we speak with Oak afterwards. He tells us that our mom booked a vacation on Alola and we should head for this region next. Because we are there anyway, we should deliver a Pokemon egg to his cousin Samson. We get a pair of new clothes once more and make our way to the Viridian Blimp service. But instead of going to Alola directly, we need to do a little detour to Kalos again. Back in Lumiose City, 3 NPCs gives us the legendary Pokemon Hooper, Diancie, and Volcanion, along with the Diancie type. Back in Terminus Cave, yet another legendary Pokemon appeared, Zygarde. And of course we catch it too. We take a look at our Pokedex and see that we now own every Pokemon from Kanto to Kalos, having 721 Pokemon registered. And with that we make our way to the Alola region. Taking the blimp in Viridian City, we arrive at Route 1 in Alola shortly after, with us having 117 hours in-game time and 721 Pokemon registered. Now the Alola region awaits us. After we took the blimp in Viridian City, we arrived at Alola's Route 1. Before we speak with anyone here, we get ourselves the first Alola Pokemon in the high grass, them being Pikipek, Alolan Executor, Grubbin, Beware, Sandygast, and when fishing, Pyukumuku, Wishy-Washy, Bruxish, and Dewpider. We do what every kid wants to do in the holidays, going to school, and we run into Team Skull for the first time. After we beat them, we enter Alola Trainer School. I delivered the egg to Oak's cousin Samson, and he suggested that I participate in the school, and so we do. After we asked Mom, of course. Samson told us that Professor Kukui offers us a home while we are here, and so we return back to Route 1 and speak with him. Here we also get ourselves the Rotom Dex. I cannot tell you how much I hated that thing back in actual Gen 7. In front of the school there's Tapu Koko, and we obtain the Z-Ring from it. Inside of the school, on our first day, Kukui suggests that we check out the nearby Melee forest. We do exactly that and enter the forest, where we run into Ash's Rowlet, our first starter of the region, and also one of my favorites. Apart from Rowlet, there's of course a bunch of new Pokemon we can get here as well, like Bonesweet, Moralal, Trumbeak, Shiinotic, Mimikyu, and Drampa. While searching for the rest of the Pokemon, I encountered my second shiny of the game, a shiny Grubbin. After I caught it, I searched the area for some more Pokemon, and got Oranguru and 2 Cannon. That's it for the Melee forest, and so I made my way back to the school where I battled Lana. Kukui explained us the power of the Z-Rings, and that's it for our first day in the Alola region. On our second day, the roadblock to Haoli City is gone, and so I entered the city and explored the boundaries a bit. I was able to enter Route 2 early and caught an Alola Rattata, Rimpot, Charjabug, and a special Pichu here, and while fishing, Marini, and Delamisi. To understand why I captured another Pichu here, I need to tell you how the game handles some dex entries. As you remember, we got Pikachu, Pichu, and Raichu before. Since there's an Alola Raichu, and because how this engine works, we will get 3 new Pokemon entries for Pichu, Pikachu, and Alolan Raichu, if we evolve that line in Alola. And the same with Cubone, Grimer, etc. Also, you cannot bring a Pikachu you captured in Kanto and bring it to Alola to evolve. You have to capture one in Alola to work. Lycanroc's forms also have distinct Pokemon entries, so keep that in mind when looking at the Pokedex number. With that out of the way, I went back to the city and Lana transported us to Haoli outskirts on her Lapras. Before doing our daily task here, I got a regional Cubone and a female Salandit while being here. At a small lake, an iconic Popplio joined up the team, making it our second starter of the region. We fight a Gyarados at the lake and have a fight with Lana afterwards, before returning home. The next day, while exploring the region a bit more, I ran into Team Rocket at the Haoli shopping mall. and after dealing with them yet another time, Sophocles showed me a little secret area, where we fight the trainers and him. One day later at the school, Professor Kukui tells us about the Alola forms and Pokemon eggs, and soon afterwards we make our way to Lily's place. After a short battle, we return home to go to sleep once more. We wake up the next day and Kukui tells us that the bridge behind the school is finally repaired, so a new area opens up for us. I crossed the bridge and found myself on Route 3. I wasted no time and added Alolan Diglett, Persimmon, Alolan Meowth, Cutiefly, Mudbray, Alola Raticate, and Ribombee here, before I made my way north to Iki Town. Hala tells us about the trial challenge, and because this time it seems like something Ash could win, we agree to participate. We make our way to Verdant Cavern, which now opened at Route 2, and caught a Yangoose here. I decided that this will be the end of the section here, so I have to evolve and breed what I got so far, before starting this trial. I do, and went back to Kanto for yet another section of Ho-Oh XP grinding. This is when I found out that with Rotom you cannot ride a bike anymore. God damn it, Rotom. Which is kinda ironic with Gala's Rotom bike. So, now that we have to walk to encounter Ho-Ohs, which took a little bit longer, I evolved my shiny Grubbin into Charjabug, and into Vikavolt with a Thunderstone. Dewpider evolved into a Rockrunnit, Bounce Speed into Steenie and into Tsarina, after leveling up while knowing Stomp. Alola Diglett evolved into Dugtrio, Yangoose into Gumshoes, Mudbray into Mudsdale, Wimpod into Golisipod, and our regional Cubone into Alola Marowak. At this time, while grinding for more EXP, I ran into a shiny Ho-Oh actually, which was extremely awesome, considering how many I fought along the way. I got myself a new Ho-Oh in one of my Master Balls, called it Legend, and retired my old Ho-Oh. With a brand new shiny Ho-Oh on my team, I evolved the rest of the Pokemon I got, turning Marini into Toxapex at level 38, our female Salandit into Salazzle, Poplio into Brionne and into Primarina at level 34, Rowlet into Dartrix and into Decidueye, our Pichu with enough happiness into Pikachu, and finally into Alola Raichu, Alolan Meowth into Persian, and Sandygast into Palossand at level 42. Apart from that, I bred Beware to get a Stuffle, and our Alolan Executor to get a regional Execute, which also counts as a dex entry. With now 777 Pokemon, I started my trial in Verdant Cavern, and fought the Totem Gumshoes, resulting in me getting a Normalium Z. I returned back to Hala and fought him, beating my first trial of the region. As a little reward, he gifts me the Electrium Z. Since we don't get any gym badges here with the trials, I won't count them to the badge total. That's it for this day, so we return home and wake up on the next morning. Kukui offers us to take Rockruff with us, and so we take it. Just outside of the school, Kiawe offers us to take us to a new location, Akala Island. Arriving there, I made my way to the Paniola Ranch. While making my way to the next goal of the day, I caught an Alolan Geodude. Afterwards, I had a battle with Kiawe. The next day on Route 3, I ran into Mallow and into Team Rocket again in the meadow. After dealing with them, I caught an Oricoro and made my way back home. Before we go to bed for the day, Kukui said that there's a Litten nearby, which seems to need a cheer up. So, back in Haoli City, we find the Litten and of course, we take it with us. The next day, we have a little battle with Gladion at Lily's place. And soon after, we go back to Akala Island for our next trial. On Akala Island, there's now Route 5, which is accessible to us. I caught a Crab Brawler here and explored routes 8 and 7. Here I found a Bugnium Z before we started our next trial. I bred Rockruff to get 2 more of them, and evolved one at level 25 to get its Dusk form. Litten into Torracat and into Incineroar. Geodude into Graveler and into Alola Golem at level 35. And my other 2 Rockruffs with high enough friendship during night and day to get the other 2 forms. Back on Akala Island I started a trial, and after defeating Lana, I made my way to the now open Wheeler Volcano Park. I battled Kiave here and soon after entered Lush Jungle. After a battle with Mellow here, we can now face the Totem Pokemon. But while in the area, I caught a Formantis and a Lurantis here. And after defeating the Totem Lurantis, we get the Gracium Z. And now all what is left to do is to challenge the Island Kahuna. We enter the Ruins of Life, south of the Paniola Ranch, and caught our first Island Guardian here, Tapu Lele. After we catch it, we can now challenge Olivia. With her defeated, we finished our second trial of Alola, and we get gifted the Rockium Z for that. A couple of days later, back in school, Professor Kukui tells us about Mega Evolution and Cantonian forms. For a little field trip, we go back to Pallet Town with the class, where of course we are interrupted by Team Rocket. We blast them to the stars and have a little fight with our old pals Brock and Misty in Oak's Coral. After our battles, we return back to Alola and go to bed. The next day we enter Mele Forest again, where we take a lost Cosmog with us, but only as a follower for now. We take Cosmog to Lily's place and of course give it its proper name, Nebby. One day later at school, we meet up with Lusamine for the first time. For another field trip, we visit the Aether Paradise, and so we take the boat in Haoli City to get there. Outside of the Aether Paradise, I used my chance to add a Comfrey to my dex total, and afterwards I entered the building. Inside we find a type Null, which we take with us, and yet another Master Ball. That's it for today, so we head back home for now. At the next morning, we just spoke with Kukui when Cosmog decides to teleport us to an unknown place. We find a Phytanium Z here and have a little chat with Gladion, before he takes us back to Route 1. Sometime later we take the boat to the Aether Paradise again, where Faber steals Cosmog from us. Of course we immediately rush into the building, only to find out that he was able to summon an Ultra Beast. To save Lusamine we capture the beast Nihilego, but it's too late, and Lusamine vanishes into the Ultra Space. Gladion suggests that we go to Pony Island, and so we take the boat there immediately. Lusamine can wait a tiny bit longer, since there's a couple of new Pokemon to get here, like Jangmo-o, Hakamo-o, and Como-o. We grab the Dragonium Z and enter the Altar of the Sun. There we grab the Pikachnium Z and find out that Nebby evolved into Solgaleo. It gives us the Solganium Z and offers us to take us to the Ultra Space, where Lily's and Gladion's mom is. After we arrived at the Ultra Deep Space, we find Lusamine being controlled by Nihilego. After we defeated her in a battle, she's free again and we all head home. Before we get to bed now though, I returned back to the Altar of the Sun and took Solgaleo with me, now willing to join the team. The next day at school, Kukui suggests a field trip to the Lanakila mountain. We take the boat once more and arrive in the area. Here I caught a Vulpix, Crabominable, and a Sandshrew. Also we find an Icium Z here. After a short battle with Lily and her Snowy, I returned back to Haoli City. On my way back I noticed a Pokeball next to the Poke Center, and it had a Machado inside. I did a quick detour to Sunyshore in Sinnoh, where I bought 2 Ice Stones. I used them immediately to evolve Sandshrew into Sandslash and Vulpix into Ninetales. Back at school we get told that Ultra Beasts started to show up in Alola. We can also now buy Beast Balls too, so I grabbed 100 or so and began my hunt. At the Mele Meadow I found and captured Buzzwole. I took the Charizard Express to Akala once more and made my way to the Royal Avenue. Here we can find Alola's Game Corner, and with it some more Pokemon. Inside of the Game Corner I bought an Alolan Grimer, Turtonator and Komala. Because we are here anyway and it was a daily task, I entered the Battle Royale Dome and fought the Masked Royal and Sophocles. When I wanted to make my way back to Route 1, I realized the route was full of Team Skullgrunts, and fighting my way through them I eventually arrived at the school again, where Grunts tried to take Ilima hostage. I saved him and get the EVMZ for my efforts. The next day Rotom tells me that an Ultra Beast appeared inside of the school, and so we investigate. Being there I found a lost Poipole, which of course we take with us. Also on Route 3 the next Ultra Beast appeared, Celesteela. After catching it, we end the day and go to bed. The next morning Kukui suggests us that we should do our next trial, and so we take the boat to the Tapu village. Nanu, on the other hand, isn't really in the mood for a challenger, so after a quick battle with him, he sends us to do some tasks before we can do the real match. North of the city is a desert, and we have to cross it to reach the ruins of Abundance. On my way, I grabbed the Alola GMZ and arrived at the ruins soon after. The next island guardian is here, and so we need to face it. Doing so, and after a lot of level balls, I was able to get Tapu Bulu. We return back to Nanu, but he still don't want to rematch, so he sends us yet again on a mission, south of the city. There we run into Team Rocket again, in an old warehouse. We deal with them, and now Nanu is ready to face us again. Before doing that though, I do a quick detour to the Aether Foundation, to trade a Pichu for Togedemaru. In Blackthorn City in Johto, I visited the Murphy Learner, and in return for a heart scale, I taught Poipole Dragon Pulse. And leveling it up, it evolved into Naganadel. My Alolan Grimer I evolved into a Muk, and type Null into Silvally, with enough happiness. I returned back to Nanu and beat my third island challenge, earning myself the Lucanium Z. We head back home again to go to bed. The next morning Kukui tells us about 2 more Ultra Beasts, this time on Route 2. We go there and capture Circuitry and Blacephalon. Back in school we do yet another field trip to Mount Lanakila, and so I entered Mount Lanakila Cave and found a Ghostium Z here. I exited the cave and now found myself at Mount Hokulani. I caught a Minior here and met up with the rest of the group. The next day I entered Haoli City once more, where, in an abandoned house, I found a Cosmog. Since it was high leveled, I immediately evolved it into Cosmoem. And soon after I ran into Team Skull once more again, this time trying to take hostage Mina. After dealing with that, back in front of the school, we meet the next Ultra Beast, Stakataka. I woke up the next morning, but something seemed a bit off. Kukui and all the adults seemed to be a bit tired, and so I made my way to the school alone. Something seems to be off at the Altar of the Sun, and so we make our way back there. The area is overrun by Team Rocket Grunts, and so we fight our way to the altar. Arriving there, I grab the Lunalium Z and find and capture the second box art Pokemon of Generation 7, Lunala. After catching it, Lunala takes us to the Ultra Space again, where we find and capture Necrozma. That seemed to have solved the problem, and so we end our day here. Sometime later, the Rotom Dex tells us to go for a walk in the Melee Forest. And there we meet up with our rival from the games, Hau. We battle him and exit the forest back to Route 1, where another Tapu appeared. This time it's Tapu Koko itself. We capture it, but the Tapu teleports us to another world. A trainer here tells us about the Guzzlord problem, and we gladly resolve it by catching the perpetrator. Doing so results in us being sent back to Route 1 again. Back at the school, Kukui has a little surprise for us, and we meet Misty here. And Brock too, at the local Pokemon Center, where Nurse Joy is. Of course. One day later and everyone gets his and her tasks for the day. Ours is to continue our island challenge, and so we take the boat to Pony Island. We arrive at the Seafolk village, where I grab the Waterium Z. Afterwards I enter the Pony Wilds and the ancient Pony Path, where I run into Team Skull once more, and Hapu afterwards. She can't help us yet, and so we return back to the Seafolk village and meet up with Lily. Back at the ancient Pony Path, after defeating Gladion, we can now take the boat to the vast Pony Canyon. Sophocles tells us to meet up with Lana at the Pony Wilds beach, and so we head back there. At the beach, before speaking with her though, we fish at the beachside and get ourselves a Melton. Having Melton holding a rare candy and evolving it results in us getting a Mel medal. After our battle with Lana, we are now finally able to enter the Ruins of Hope, where we find the last Tapu, Tapu Fini, for us to catch. I grabbed the Flynium Z while being here and entered the actual ruins to have a fight with Hapu, this time fighting her as an island kahuna. With her defeated, I got the Steelium Z, and now with 829 Pokemon, I finished the last trial of the region. Kukui congratulates us, and the next day at school we find an iconic Melton which wants to join us. We wanted to exit the school, but the Rotom decks heard something, and so we turn around and find Team Rocket yet another time, with James crying about his bottle cap collection. We defeat them and get notified about another Ultra Beast appearing on Route 3. This time it's Pheromosa. We capture it and also, when going back home, find a Zeraora just outside of Route 3 in a Pokeball. In front of the school, there's a little scene between Guzma and Kukui about their history together. And Guzma challenges us to a fight. We defeat the Team Skull boss and made our way back home. The next morning at school, yet again, Kukui suggests us that we head for Melee City. We take the boat to the Tapu village and head east onto Route 12. I grabbed the Psychium Z and Marshadium Z here and entered Melee City. Here I found the Darknium Z crystal and also the local gym, the first gym of the Alola region. Because we have to continue the story, I faced the new gym leader, Ryuki, and defeated him in a battle. Defeating him results in us getting the so-called Cantonian badge. It's not an official badge by any means, but you know what, I count it. The same as the Orange Islands badges. With me now having 47 badges and 829 Pokemon, there's only one more thing to do here. But before we take on the league, there's yet another Ultra Beast sighting, this time in Hau'oli City. We go there and capture Katana. After doing that, at Lily's place, we find Margiana in a Pokeball. Sometime later at school, again Kukui tells us that the league is now finally finished. And so we can head there. We take the boat and enter Manalo Stadium. It's unfortunately overrun by Team Skullgrunts, rooting for Guzma, but taking care of them was no big deal at all. We enter the league and register for it. The Alola League is a tiny bit different than the ones we faced before. And so we enter and select the path we want to go. I chose the right path and battled through a couple of trainers. Doing so placed us top 16 already, but we are far from being done yet. We battle Faber afterwards, then Hau, and Guzma. And after defeating all of them, we are in the finals, where we have to face Gladion and his team. With my team, we were able to defeat Silvally, Lycanroc, and Zoroark with ease. And with that, we finally did it. We, as Ash, won an official league for the first time, apart from the Orange Islands filler. Wow, what a journey. And I can tell you, this feels very, very earned. Anyways, I entered the Hall of Fame, but the party mood is only short-lived, as a bunch of Guzzlords invaded the league. We soon find the leader, a shiny Guzzlord, and capture it for our ever-growing shiny collection Pokemon. After doing that, Kukui wants to have a final exhibition battle with me, and I gladly accepted this challenge. After defeating Kukui, all of our Alola friends congratulate us for becoming the champion of the region. And with that, our tropical vacation time in the Alola region is almost over. We go back to school for a last time, where the others talk about their future plans, and we have a last battle against Kiawe. I returned back to Pallet Town, where all began, and took a look at the complete pokedex, with now 833 Pokemon registered, and having almost 130 hours in-game time. As you can see, we got every single Pokemon in the pokedex. From Kanto, to Johto, to Hoenn and Sinnoh, Unova, Kalos, and finally Alola. There's one last thing we can do, going back and talk with Professor Oak. He tells us that he's truly proud of what we have accomplished throughout our journey, and even though he won't rate our Pokedex, hearing from Professor Oak that he's proud of us was worth all of the journey. And with that, we finished Fire Ash. Thank you so much for being along my side on this incredible journey. It was such a cool and new experience. And even if it was a bit tedious at times, it was never boring, honestly. We captured 5 shinies on this trip and caught 833 Pokemon in total. I got 47 badges, from which 42 were officially counted by the game. They don't count the Orange Islands for some reason, but well, yeah. This challenge took me from January to March in 2021, and cutting 150 hours of video material was quite a task. At this point, I wanted to thank every single of my viewers for watching my videos. You guys are the biggest motivation for me, and I love doing those videos. I also want to thank the complete team of mods and developers of Fire Ash. There's so much heart blood in the game, and if you love the games and the anime, you should definitely check it out. I put a link to their Discord in the description. Also, big thanks to the whole Professor Oak Challenge community. You guys are amazing, and keep the challenge alive. At last, big thanks to my girlfriend EvilCarrotSauce for supporting me this much as well. She also gives me the motivation to do those videos every single day. Thanks a lot, love. Well, I guess that's it for this adventure. I'm a bit sad to end this one, but even more excited for the next one. I hope I see you in the next video. Until then, see ya!